Have you ever laid awake at night? The world outside, silent, and felt the profound weight of a single, looping question. What is the point of all this? What is the purpose of the frantic rush of the day? The striving and the stress? The fleeting moments of joy and the long seasons of struggle? In the stillness of that darkness, have you ever felt a creeping dread? A suspicion that if you were to shout that question into the vast, indifferent cosmos, the only answer you would receive is the echo of your own voice. This is perhaps the most deeply human fear, the one we rarely speak of. The fear that beneath all the layers of culture, tradition, and belief, there is no inherent, grand design, that we are simply brief sparks of consciousness, appearing for a moment on a lonely planet, only to be extinguished without cosmic applause or a final review. For centuries, we have been handed answers. We have been given thick books of rules, ancient stories of gods and purpose, societal structures that tell us who to be, what to achieve, and how to measure our worth. Get the education, to find the career, build the family, accumulate the possessions, and you will be happy. You will have meaning. Yet for so many of us, these prepackaged answers feel like hollow echoes. We follow the script. We tick the boxes, but the feeling of profound unease remains. We feel like actors in a play we never auditioned for, speaking lines that don't feel like our own. This disconnect creates a quiet crisis, a sense of spiritual homelessness, of being adrift in an ocean of cosmic indifference. But what if this terrifying realization is not a curse? What if it is the greatest blessing you could ever receive? What if the absence of a pre-written universal meaning is not a void, but a canvas of us, pristine, an utterly blank canvas, handed to you at birth? What if the silence of the universe is not a sign of its indifference, but an invitation for you to sing your own song, to create your own symphony? This is the radical freedom we are here to explore. The idea that life has no inherent meaning is not the end of the journey. It is the true beginning. It is the moment you are unshackled from every expectation, every dogma, and every predetermined path. It is the moment you realize you are not just a wanderer in this world. You are its co-creator. Over the course of our journey together, through the convenience and intimacy of the spoken word, we will delve into the minds of great thinkers. We will explore the timeless spiritual laws of attraction and vibration, and we will uncover the universal messages hidden in plain sight. We will not seek a single answer to the great question. Instead, we will gather the tools, the paints, and the brushes, so that you can begin the sacred bet, exhilarating work of painting your own masterpiece. To begin this journey, we must first have the courage to stand at the edge of the abyss, to look directly into its depths without flinching. We must confront the feeling that has haunted poets, philosophers, and ordinary people in their quietest moments. It often arrives not with a thunderclap, but in a whisper. In the midst of the mundane, you might be stirring sugar into your morning coffee, the spoon clinking rhythmically against the porcelain, and suddenly the motion feels alien, automated. You observe your own hand as if it belonged to someone else, and a voice from a deep, internal distance asks, "Why?" Not why am I stirring this coffee, but why am I here? In this kitchen, in this life, performing this sequence of rituals day after day. This sudden, jarring disconnect, this feeling of being an actor and an audience member in the same play. This is the doorway to the absurd. The French philosopher and author Albert Camus gave this feeling a name. He defined the absurd not as the belief that life is meaningless, but as the recognition of a fundamental conflict, a divorce between two warring truths. On one side, there is humanity. There is you. You are a rational creature who craves meaning, order, clarity, and purpose as much as you crave food and water. Your mind is a pattern-seeking machine, constantly trying to connect the dots, to find a reason, a narrative, a grand unifying theory for everything. You look at the stars and you don't just see balls of gas. You see stories. You see destiny. You experience love and loss, and you demand that it signifies something more than a chemical reaction. This hunger for meaning is innate. It is the very essence of our conscious mind. On the other side of this conflict, there is the universe. And the universe, Camus suggests, is profoundly, deafeningly silent. It offers no answers. It provides no neat narrative. It operates on physical laws, not on moral or spiritual ones. It is a stage of breathtaking beauty and unspeakable horror, of creation and destruction, all unfolding without a discernible plot or purpose. You can scream your questions about justice, about fairness, about the meaning of suffering into the cosmos for 1,000 years, and the only response will be the cold twinkle of distant galaxies and the silent turning of the earth. The absurd, then, is this irresolvable tension. It is the clash between our desperate need for meaning and the universe's apparent lack of any to provide. It is the eternal state of humanity knocking on a door, demanding answers, while knowing, deep down, that the house is empty. To live is to exist in this state of permanent contradiction. This philosophical concept is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a lived experience. It is the feeling of being a stranger in your own life. You learn the social codes. You perform the expected emotions. You smile at parties. You offer condolences at funerals. You discuss the weather with colleagues, but behind the mask, there is a sense of detachment. A feeling that you are watching a character perform these actions. This is the core of Camus's masterpiece. An audiobook experience that serves as the perfect entry point into this strange territory. The stranger, the protagonist, Meursault, is the embodiment of the absurd man. The story, available as a gripping audiobook that allows his dispassionate voice to seep directly into your consciousness, begins with a now famous line, "Mother died today, or maybe yesterday. I don't know." From this very first moment, Meursault is marked as an outsider. He attends his mother's funeral but doesn't perform the ritual of grief. He doesn't cry. He observes the proceedings with a detached curiosity. The next day, he goes for a swim, starts a casual affair with a woman named Marie, and goes to see a comedy at the cinema. He is not cruel. He is simply honest. He does not feel profound grief, so he does not feign it. He feels the warmth of the sun and the desire for a woman, and he acts on those feelings. His life unfolds through a series of disconnected moments, all of which he experiences with a kind of sensory honesty, but without the emotional or moral narrative that society expects. This detachment culminates in a moment of shocking, senseless violence. On a hot, sun-drenched beach, Meursault is involved in a confrontation. An Arab man pulls a knife, and the sun glinting off the blade is described as a searing, blinding force. A long, shimmering blade that strikes Meursault's forehead. Overwhelmed by the oppressive heat and the blinding light, Meursault shoots him. He says the sun made him do it. It is an act devoid of malice or premeditation. An absurd reaction to the oppressive, non-human force of nature itself. It is in the second half of the book, during his trial, that the true nature of his crime becomes clear. The prosecutor barely focuses on the killing itself. Instead, he builds a case against Meursault's character, against his very soul. The crucial evidence against him is that he didn't cry at his mother's funeral. He is condemned not for taking a man's life, but for failing to play the game of society. He is a stranger to their codes. He refuses to lie. He refuses to pretend to feel what he does not feel. And because he reveals the truth that society's rituals are just that, rituals, not necessarily reflections of authentic feeling, he must be cast out. He must be named a monster to protect the fragile illusion that everyone else is living an authentic, meaningful life in his prison cell. Awaiting his execution, Meursault faces the final absurdity. A chaplain visits him, desperate to offer the comfort of God, of an afterlife, of some final meaning. Meursault, who has been passive and detached for the entire story, finally erupts. He grabs the chaplain and screams out his frustrations, pouring out all his certainty in the life he has lived and the death that is coming. And in the wake of this rage, something miraculous happens. He finds peace. In his final moments, he writes, "I opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world, finding it so much like myself. I felt that I had been happy and that I was happy again." This is the turning point. He doesn't find God. He doesn't find a secret meaning. He finds freedom in accepting the world for what it is, indifferent. By embracing the absurd, by acknowledging the shared, silent nature of his own soul and the soul of the universe, he becomes free. He escapes the prison of hope and expectation and finds joy in the pure, unadorned reality of his existence. Camus argues that when faced with the absurd, we have three choices. The first is physical suicide. This is to declare that life is not worth living. It is an admission of defeat, a surrender to the conflict. The second choice is what Camus calls philosophical suicide. This is the leap of faith. It is to abandon reason and embrace a ready-made system of meaning, like a religion or a rigid ideology, that promises to resolve the contradiction and provide all the answers. This choice erases the problem by pretending the universe is not silent after all. It's a comforting illusion, but an evasion of the authentic human condition. The third choice, the one Camus champions and the one Meursault finally discovers, is rebellion. Rebellion is the act of living in spite of the absurd. It is to keep the conflict alive within you, to hold both opposing truths in your consciousness at once. My mind demands meaning, and the universe offers none. The absurd man does not deny the eternal silence, but he also refuses to be silenced by it. Rebellion means living with passion, with intensity, and with a profound sense of freedom that comes from knowing there is no ultimate judge, no final scorecard. It is to love the struggle of life itself, by looking squarely into the indifferent eyes of the universe and not turning away. We have taken the first, most crucial step. We have acknowledged the silence. We have accepted the blank canvas. This act of courage is not a step into nihilism, but a step into radical ownership. We have rejected the easy, pre-packaged answers that society, like the chaplain in Meursault's cell, tries to force upon us. We have earned the right to question every rule, every value, and every limitation that was built upon the shaky foundation of a meaning we never chose for ourselves. This act of rebellion clears the ground, allowing us to face the next monumental question: if the old systems of meaning are no longer valid, what do we build in their place? This brings us to another philosopher who took a hammer to the old structures, a man who dared to declare that the ultimate rule maker was no longer in charge. If Albert Camus stands at the edge of the abyss, reporting back on its cold, silent nature, then the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche is the man who announces that we are the ones who created it, and challenges us to leap across. Where Camus finds a quiet, rebellious peace in the face of indifference, Nietzsche issues a thunderous, world-shattering proclamation. He arrives not as a gentle guide, but as a prophet with a hammer, ready to smash the idols of the past, to clear the ground for a new kind of humanity. His most famous and most violently misunderstood declaration serves as our next great landmark on this journey. It is a phrase that has been used to justify both despair and atrocity, but at its core, it is a profound diagnosis of our spiritual condition. The phrase is this: God is dead. God remained dead. and we have killed him. Let us be perfectly clear. When Nietzsche, through the character of a madman in one of his parables, screams this in the marketplace, he is not making a gleeful, atheistic declaration. He is not simply saying he doesn't believe in a deity. He is announcing the single greatest event in the history of Western civilization, the slow, creeping death of the very foundation upon which all of its meaning, morality, and purpose had been built for 2,000 years. For Nietzsche, God was the ultimate anchor. He was the guarantor of truth, the source of all moral law, the concepts of good and evil, right and wrong, were not matters of opinion or social contract. They were divine commands, etched in stone. God was the cosmic scoreboard keeper, the ultimate authority who gave life a clear narrative, a final judgment, and an eternal purpose. And we, Nietzsche says, have killed him. How not with weapons, but with our minds. We did it with the relentless questioning of the Enlightenment, with the unflinching gaze of scientific inquiry. Copernicus and Galileo displaced humanity from the center of the cosmos. Darwin connected us to the animal kingdom, stripping away our special, divine creation. With every new discovery, with every phenomenon we could explain through natural law, the space that required a supernatural explanation shrank. We built a world on reason, logic, and evidence. And in the process, we slowly, methodically, and perhaps unconsciously, dismantled the throne of the absolute. We killed God with our intellect. The immediate consequence of this event is not celebration, but terror. It is a terrifying freedom. Imagine a ship's crew that has spent its entire existence navigating by a single brilliant North Star. One night, they look up, and the star is gone. All of their maps are now useless. Their destination is forgotten. They are utterly, terrifyingly lost. This is humanity after the death of God, without an absolute anchor for morality. On what basis can we truly say anything is right or wrong if there is no divine command? Then "thou shalt not kill" becomes merely a suggestion, a social convenience. This disorientation, this vertigo of living in a world without an ultimate arbiter of truth, is the abyss of nihilism. Nihilism is the shadow that follows the death of God. It is the creeping suspicion that if there is no preordained meaning, then nothing matters at all. All values become relative. All actions become permissible. And all striving is ultimately pointless. It leads to a state of profound spiritual exhaustion. Nietzsche foresaw the danger of this state and gave it a name: the last man. The last man is the ultimate creature of comfort. He wants no risk, no suffering, no greatness. His ambition is to have a little pleasure for the day and a little pleasure for the night. He looks at the stars and blinks. He sees no reason to strive for anything more than a warm, safe, and utterly mediocre existence. The last man is the triumph of passive nihilism. The creature who, upon hearing that God is dead, simply shrugs and turns back to his television, because nothing really matters anyway. This, for Nietzsche, was the ultimate horror, the pathetic endpoint of humanity. But Nietzsche does not abandon us in this wasteland of the last man. He offers an antidote. He proposes a new goal for humanity, a being who can stare directly into the nihilistic void, feel the full weight of life's meaninglessness, and not just endure it, but affirm it, dance with it, and create from it. This being is the Übermensch, the Overman. And here we must be incredibly careful, for this concept has been tragically twisted. The Overman is not a comic book hero in a cape. He is not a ruthless tyrant who imposes his will on others. And he is most certainly not a member of a master race, a grotesque Nazi perversion of Nietzsche's thought. The Overman is a spiritual creator. He is the artist of values, recognizing that the old tablets of law handed down from the mountain have been shattered. The overman has the courage to climb his own mountain and chisel his own tablets. His values are not derived from a heavenly promise or a fear of hell. They are derived from a profound, joyful yes to life. In its entirety, he embraces the struggle, the pain, and the chaos just as much as the joy and the beauty. For he knows that they are all inseparable parts of the great tapestry of existence. The overman's morality is simple: whatever enhances the feeling of power, the will to power, the overcoming of obstacles within oneself, is good. Whatever springs from weakness, from resentment, from a desire to drag others down, is bad. It is the ultimate act of taking responsibility, not just for your actions, but for the very meaning of your actions. To explore this poetic and powerful idea, there is no better guide than Nietzsche's own prophetic audiobook masterpiece, Dus spoke Zarathustra. Listening to this work is crucial, as its language sings and soars with the power of myth. It tells the story of the prophet Zarathustra, who spends 10 years in solitude on a mountain before descending to teach humanity about the overman. But he finds the people in the marketplace are not ready. They laugh at him. They are content to be the last men, seeking only comfort and security. Zarathustra then describes the path to becoming the overman as a series of 3 spiritual metamorphoses. First, the spirit must become a camel. The camel is the spirit of reverence and duty. It kneels down and says, "What is heavy, let me bear it." It takes upon itself the great burdens of tradition, discipline, and the thou shalt of old morality. It is a necessary stage of strengthening the will, but the spirit cannot remain a camel forever. In the loneliest desert, the camel transforms into a lion. The lion's sacred word is "I will." Its task is to battle the great dragon, and the dragon's name is "Thou shalt." Every scale on this dragon glitters with a value from the past. The lion must destroy this dragon, saying a sacred no to all external commands, to create a space for its own freedom. But even the lion, in all its destructive fury, cannot create new values. It can only clear the way for the final, most important transformation. The spirit must become a child. The child is innocence and forgetfulness, a new beginning, a game, a self-propelling wheel, a first movement, a sacred yes, where the camel said "Thou shalt," and the lion said "I will." The child simply is. The child creates its own world, its own games, its own values, not out of duty or defiance, but out of a pure, joyful, life-affirming will. The overman is this child, the one who can look upon the world, free from the weight of all past judgments, and created anew. Kama showed us the blank canvas of existence, born from the universe's silence. Nietzsche now thrusts the hammer and chisel into our hands, demanding that we become the sculptors of our own meaning. The death of God is not a tragedy to be mourned, but a radical opportunity to be seized. It is the moment we are finally freed from the role of servant and given the terrifying, exhilarating promotion to creator. We have faced the absurd and refused to surrender. We have witnessed the collapse of old certainties and refused to despair. We have accepted that the external rules are gone. Now, we must turn our attention inward, to the only realm where new rules can be written. The silent, fertile space of our own consciousness. The next step on our journey is to master this inner world, to escape the prisons of past and future that our own minds have built. We have stood with Camus before the silent universe and refused to be intimidated. We have walked with Nietzsche through the rubble of old values and dared to imagine ourselves as creators. But these grand, philosophical landscapes, as liberating as they are, can still feel distant. The most immediate battleground, the place where we experience our freedom or our bondage every single second, is not in the cosmos or in the history of ideas. It is in the space between our own ears. Before we can create a new world, We must first escape the prison we unknowingly carry with us everywhere we go, the prison of our own mind. I want you to try a small experiment. Right now, just for a moment, notice where your attention is. Are you fully here? Listening to these words, feeling the air on your skin, aware of the space you occupy, or is your mind somewhere else? Is it replaying an argument from yesterday? Dissecting what you should have said? Is it rehearsing a conversation for tomorrow? Planning your strategy and anticipating the outcome? Is it stewing in an old resentment from a decade ago? Or lost in a daydream of a future vacation? If you are like most people, your awareness is a time traveler, constantly hurtling between a past that is gone forever and a future that exists only in your imagination. The one place it rarely rests is in the only place that is ever real, the present moment. This is the prison. It has two cells. One is the past. It is a room lined with ghosts, regrets, and grievances. The walls are papered with the stories of what if and if only. We pace this cell endlessly, reopening old wounds, reliving old glories, defining ourselves by a collection of memories that are nothing more than faded neural traces. The other cell is the future. This room is filled with anxiety, a fog of endless possibilities, most of them negative. We rehearse for disasters that will likely never happen. We postpone our happiness, telling ourselves, I will be at peace when I get the promotion, when I find the perfect partner, when I retire. We live in a perpetual state of striving for a destination that, even if we reach it, is immediately replaced by a new one. The mind, our own mind, is the warden of this prison, constantly shuttling us between these two cells of memory and anticipation, ensuring we rarely set foot in the sunlit courtyard of the now that lies between them. No one has mapped this prison and charted the path to freedom more clearly than the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle. His own life is a testament to the possibility of a great escape. In his profoundly influential audiobook, The Power of Now, Tolle introduces a crucial distinction, the difference between clock time and psychological time. Clock time is the practical, functional aspect of time. We use it to set appointments, to cook a meal, to build a bridge. It is a useful tool for navigating the material world. Psychological time, however, is a disease of the mind. It is the compulsive accumulation of past and future in our psyche. It is the endless mental chatter, the voice in the head that is constantly judging, speculating, complaining, and worrying. This incessant stream of thought is what creates and sustains the false self, what Tolle calls the ego. The ego is not simply arrogance. The ego is the identity we build for ourselves out of thought forms. It is the me and my story. This story is a collage of past events, the things that were done to me, the things I achieved, the roles I played, and future projections, my hopes, my fears, my goals. The ego cannot exist without psychological time. It needs the past for its identity and the future for its continued promise of fulfillment or salvation. I will be complete, the ego says, when I have achieved X, because the present moment is a profound threat to its existence, for in the now, there are no stories. Only what is the ego does its utmost to pull our attention away from it. This is why the mind is so restless. It is fighting for its own survival. Tolle's teachings are not born from intellectual theory, but from his own dramatic liberation from this very prison. As a young man, he lived in a state of almost unbearable, continuous anxiety, plagued by suicidal depression. His own mind was his relentless torturer. One night, he experienced a level of dread so absolute that a thought arose in him with startling clarity. I cannot live with myself any longer. In that instant, he was struck by the strangeness of the phrase. If I cannot live with myself, does that mean there are two of me, the I, and the self that I cannot live with? Which one is the real me? This simple question triggered a spontaneous collapse of his thought-based identity. the self that was made of suffering and stories dissolved. He describes it as falling into a void, a vortex of no thought. What he initially feared as annihilation, he quickly realized was a state of the most profound peace he had ever known. The next morning, he woke up and walked through the streets of London in a state of bliss. Everything seemed new, miraculous. The simple existence of a tree, the sound of a bus, the sunlight on the pavement, all of it was vibrant and intensely alive. Because for the first time, he was seeing it directly, not through the cloudy, distorted filter of his analytical, judging mind. He had fallen out of the nightmare of psychological time and awakened into the eternal reality of the present moment. He had escaped the prison. So how do we begin to tunnel out of our own cells? Tolle offers simple, yet profoundly effective tools. The primary practice is to become a watcher of your own mind. Become the silent witness to your thoughts. Don't try to stop them, and certainly don't judge them. Just observe them as they drift through your consciousness like clouds passing in the sky. When you observe the thought, you are no longer completely identified with it. You are the awareness behind the thought. This simple act of witnessing creates a space, a separation between you, the silent watcher, and the chattering mind. In this space lies your freedom. Another powerful gateway to the now is to connect with your body. Right now, can you feel the subtle field of energy inside your hands? You don't have to think about it. Just feel it. Can you feel the life in your feet, your legs, your arms? By bringing your attention to this inner body, you immediately pull your consciousness out of the abstract world of thought and anchor it firmly in the present reality. It is a powerful antidote to anxiety, as it is impossible to be fully in your body and lost in fearful future projections at the same time. The final key is surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means surrendering to the reality of the present moment. Whatever is happening right now, is resisting it, arguing with it in your mind, labeling it as terrible or wrong, is what creates suffering. Acceptance of what is, without judgment, allows you to find a deep well of peace, even in the midst of challenging situations. We have now traveled from the cosmic scale of the absurd to the most intimate and immediate realm of our own consciousness. We have discovered that we are not our minds, and we are not the stories our minds tell us. We are the silent, spacious awareness that lies behind the thinking. By learning to disidentify from the compulsive stream of thought, we are no longer tossed helplessly between a past we cannot change and a future we cannot control. We find our home, our power, and our peace in the only place life ever truly happens now. We have found the space where creation is possible. But being present is not a passive, vacant state. Within this stillness lies an incredible power, a latent potential waiting to be activated. The next step on our journey is to explore the most fundamental freedom we possess within this sacred, present moment, the absolute and unbreakable freedom to choose. We have found our way into the sanctuary of the present moment. That silent space of awareness, free from the tyranny of past and future. Within this stillness, we have discovered a profound peace, a release from the restless, anxious mind. But what happens when the present moment is not peaceful? What happens when the now is not a quiet room filled with birdsong, but a hospital bed, a place of profound grief or unbearable pain? What power does the now hold when the reality of the now is a living hell? It is here, at the absolute limit of human endurance, that we discover the final and most powerful of our innate freedoms. To guide us into this harrowing territory, we turn to the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, a man who lived through the ultimate test of the human spirit. We must see him not just as a theorist, but as prisoner number 119, an inmate in the death camps of Auschwitz and Dachau. In these camps, Frankl and his fellow prisoners were systematically stripped of everything that constitutes a human life. They lost their homes, their careers, their families, Their possessions, their hair was shaved, their clothes were taken, and even their names were replaced by a number tattooed on their skin. Every external freedom was annihilated. They had no choice over what they ate, where they slept, or whether they would live to see the next sunrise. They were subjected to unimaginable brutality, starvation, and the constant, looming presence of the gas chambers. This was the most extreme and hopeless environment imaginable. And yet, in this crucible of suffering, Frankl made a discovery that would change the course of psychology and provide a beacon of hope for all humanity. He observed that while the guards had control over every aspect of their physical existence, there was one thing, one single thing, they could never take away. He saw men who were told they were going to be executed just moments later walk to their deaths not with fear, but with dignity, comforting others and saying a prayer. He saw men share their last precious crust of bread with a starving comrade. He saw that even though every prisoner was subjected to the same horrific external conditions, their internal responses varied wildly. Some crumbled into apathy and despair, becoming what was known as a Moslem, a walking corpse who had given up all hope. But others, a precious few, maintained their inner integrity, their sense of self, and their human dignity. The difference, Frankl realized, lay in a single, sacred space that the Nazis could not touch. He later wrote, in his essential audiobook, Man's Search for Meaning, a work that should be required listening for every human being. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This is the ultimate rebellion, in an environment designed to prove that the individual was nothing, a worthless object to be disposed of. The simple, internal act of choosing one's response was an act of profound spiritual defiance. It was the declaration that, you can do anything you want to my body, but you will never control my soul. You will never dictate who I am. This freedom was not an abstract concept. It was a lifeline, a tool for survival. Frankl understood that the prisoner who had lost faith in the future was doomed. Once their inner life collapsed, their physical body soon followed. To survive, a person needed a why, a reason to endure the horrific how of their daily existence. Frankl's own why was his deep, unwavering love for his wife. In the darkest moments, marching for miles in the freezing cold, his body racked with pain and hunger, he would hold conversations with her in his mind. He would see her smile. He would hear her voice answering his questions. This love, this internal connection, became a light so bright that it made the external darkness almost irrelevant. He wrote that love is the ultimate and the highest goal to which man can aspire. His other why was his life's work. Before being arrested, he had written a manuscript for a book detailing his new psychoanalytic theory. The manuscript was confiscated and destroyed. In the camp, he began secretly reconstructing it on scraps of paper, holding the core ideas in his mind. The drive to one day publish this work, to give his suffering a purpose that could help others, gave him a reason to get up every morning. He famously concluded, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." Meaning, Frankl discovered, was the key. And it wasn't something to be passively found, as if it were a lost object. It had to be actively created, moment by moment, through choice. He founded an entire school of psychotherapy based on this insight, called logotherapy, from the Greek word logos, which means meaning. Logotherapy teaches that the primary motivation in life is not the pursuit of pleasure, as Freud believed, or the will to power, as Adler argued, but the will to meaning. Frankl identified three primary ways we can create meaning in our lives. The first is by creating a work or doing a deed. This is the meaning we find in our mission, our vocation. It is the book we write, The business we build, the garden we tend, the child we raise. It is our unique contribution to the world. The second path to meaning is by experiencing something or encountering someone. This is the meaning we find in pure experience, in surrendering to beauty, truth, and goodness. It is found in standing before a majestic mountain, in being moved by a piece of music, or most profoundly, in loving another human being. To love someone is to see their essential, unique potential, and to help them actualize it. But it is the third path that is the most profound, the one that was revealed to him in the camps. We can find meaning in the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. When we are faced with a situation we cannot change, like a terminal illness or the loss of a loved one, we are presented with our greatest opportunity. We can no longer change the situation, so we are challenged to change ourselves. We can turn a personal tragedy into a triumph of the human spirit. Frankel tells the story of an elderly doctor who was mourning the death of his beloved wife. Frankel asked him, "What would have happened if you had died first?" The doctor replied that it would have been terrible for her, that she would have suffered immensely. Frankel then pointed out, "You see, doctor, such a suffering has been spared her, and it is you who have spared her this suffering. But now, you have to pay for it by surviving and mourning her." The man said nothing, but he stood up, shook Frankel's hand, and left the office with a new, dignified bearing. His suffering had not been removed, but its meaning had been transformed. It was no longer a pointless agony, but a sacrifice made out of love. Frankel's incredible story takes us to the very heart of human power. We have journeyed from the silent cosmos to the noisy mind, and now into the depths of human suffering. We have learned that our true home is the present moment, and that within this moment, no matter how dire, we possess the ultimate freedom, the power to choose our response. This is not a platitude, it is a law of spiritual survival, proven in the most extreme conditions known to man. We understand now that meaning is not a puzzle to be solved, but a masterpiece to be sculpted out of the raw material of our lives, choice by choice. This realization leaves us standing on the threshold of a new and profound question. If our inner world, our power to choose and to create meaning, is so potent that it can sustain us through even the hell of Auschwitz, what is the true nature of the relationship between this inner world of choice and the outer world of circumstance? Are they truly separate, or does the power of our internal state extend beyond mere response? This inquiry leads us away from the realm of psychology and into the domain of metaphysics, into the ancient and powerful idea that our internal reality does not just interpret the external world, but actively, powerfully, and magically helps to create it. We have journeyed through the stark landscapes of existentialism, dismantled the crumbling architecture of old certainties, found refuge in the sanctuary of the present moment, and discovered within that sanctuary an unbreakable freedom to choose our own meaning. Viktor Frankl proved, in the most extreme laboratory of human suffering, that the power of our inner world can triumph over the horror of our outer circumstances. This leaves us on the precipice of a revolutionary idea. What if the power of our inner world is not merely responsive, but profoundly creative? What if the relationship between our mind and the universe is not a one-way street, where we are simply reacting to a fixed reality, but a dynamic, two-way conversation? To explore this, we must take a step beyond conventional psychology and philosophy, into a stream of wisdom that has flowed like a secret river beneath the surface of human history. This is the realm of metaphysics, of ancient wisdom, often called the perennial philosophy. It is the idea that a core set of universal truths has been understood by mystics, seers, and sages across all cultures and all ages. One of the clearest and most potent expressions of this wisdom comes to us through a mysterious and compact text, a guide that purports to unlock the very mechanics of reality. This text is called the Kabbalion, and its teachings are attributed to a legendary figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, or Hermes, the thrice great. a sage so ancient that he was revered as a god in both Egypt and Greece. Listening to this text as an audiobook can feel like an initiation, a direct transmission of a powerful and secret knowledge. And its very first principle is the foundation upon which everything else we are about to explore is built. It is a statement of 7 simple words that has the power to shatter your perception of reality. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Let us unpack this dense and powerful axiom. First, the all. This is the Hermetic term for the ultimate reality, the substance from which all things emerge. You might call it God, Source, Spirit, Brahman, or the Tao. The key distinction in Hermetic thought is that the all is not a personified, external creator being who built the universe like a carpenter builds a house. The all is described as an infinite, living, and unknowable mind. It is the ultimate consciousness, the ground of all being. Now for the second half of the statement, the universe is mental. This is the radical insight. The universe, with its billions of galaxies, its burning suns, its vast oceans, and your own physical body is not a separate, physical object created by the all. It is a mental creation existing within the mind of the all. The Kybalion uses the analogy of a dreamer and their dream. When you are dreaming, on the world you experience feels completely real. The characters, the landscapes, the events, they all have substance and follow a certain logic within the dream. Yet, what are they all made of? They are made of nothing but your own consciousness. They are thought forms, existing entirely within your mind. In the same way, the Hermetic masters taught that our entire universe is a grand, cosmic dream, a magnificent mental creation held in the mind of the all. We are, in essence, characters in the dream of God. This might seem like an abstract, impossibly grand concept, but its implications are intensely personal and practical. This is where another great Hermetic principle comes into play. As above, so below, as below, so above. This means that the same laws that govern the universe on the grandest scale, the macrocosm, also govern the universe on the smallest scale, the microcosm. The same patterns repeat everywhere, from the orbit of planets around a sun to the orbit of electrons around a nucleus. And if this is true, then the creative principle of mind applies to us as well. If the all creates reality through the power of its thought, and we are beings created in the image of the all, existing within its mind, then our own minds must possess a similar, though finite, creative power. Your mind is not just a biological computer. It is a fractal of the universal mind. It is a microcosm of God's mind. This fundamentally changes the nature of what a thought is. In our modern, materialistic view, a thought is often dismissed as a fleeting, insubstantial electrochemical flicker in the brain. It's seen as a passive byproduct of brain activity, a ghost in the machine. The Hermetic tradition, however, teaches the exact opposite. Thoughts are not just passive observers of reality, they are active, energetic forces. Thoughts are things. They are focused impulses of energy, real forces that have the power to influence the substance of this mental universe. A thought is a cause, and the conditions of your life are the effects. Think of it this way. Your mind is a projector. The world you see around you is the screen. The thoughts you hold consistently, the beliefs you cherish, the fears you dwell upon, these are the slides you are placing in the projector. The creative substance of the universe, the very stuff of the all's dream, is like a neutral, responsive energy that simply brings these slides to life on the screen of your experience. This is why a passing, idle daydream rarely changes your life. It's a slide that is shown for only a second, too faint to make an impression, but a deeply held belief, a chronic worry that you return to again and again, a passionate desire that you nurture with focus and emotion. These are the slides that you leave in the projector for hours, For days, for years, their images become burned onto the screen of your reality. This ancient wisdom finds strange echoes in the most advanced and perplexing corners of modern science. While we must be careful not to make simplistic claims, the bizarre world of quantum physics has challenged our hard and fast distinction between mind and matter. The famous observer effect, for instance, shows that at the subatomic level, the very act of observing a particle changes its behavior. The universe, it seems, responds to the attention of a conscious observer. This doesn't prove that you can think your way to a new car, but it does suggest that the relationship between consciousness and the physical world is far more mysterious, interactive, and intimate than our classical, materialistic worldview allows. It hints that the sages who declared the universe to be mental may have been describing a profound truth that our science is only just beginning to glimpse. So let us pause and fully absorb this monumental shift in perspective. You are not a helpless cork bobbing on the waves of a random, mechanical universe. You are a conscious mind dwelling within a greater universal mind. You are a creator, a projector, an artist. Your mind is the tool. Your thoughts are the medium, and your life is the canvas. Every persistent thought, every dominant belief, every habitual feeling is a brushstroke, contributing to the masterpiece or the mess of your existence. This is the ultimate hidden power that humanity possesses. We are not just living in the world, we are actively creating it. Thought by thought, this profound realization immediately begs a critical question. If our thoughts are indeed energetic impulses, like radio signals being broadcast into the cosmos, what determines the nature and quality of that signal? What is the frequency we are tuned to? And how do we change the channel? Understanding this leads us directly to the next great Hermetic law, the principle that serves as the very engine of manifestation and the beating heart of what is popularly known as the law of attraction. We must now explore the universal principle of vibration. We have now accepted a radical premise that the universe we inhabit is not a vast, empty stage of inert matter, but a living, breathing, infinite mind. We have understood that our own thoughts are not fleeting ghosts in a machine, but potent, energetic forces capable of impressing themselves upon the very fabric of this mental cosmos. But what is the texture of this cosmic mind? What is its fundamental state of being? The answer lies in the second great Hermetic principle, a truth that modern science has wholeheartedly confirmed. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Look closely at the world around you. A solid steel table appears still, silent, and motionless. A quartz crystal seems to be the very definition of inertness. But if you were to zoom in with a microscope powerful enough to see its atomic structure, you would find a world of furious, frenetic activity. You would see a lattice of atoms, each one vibrating in place at an incredible speed. Within those atoms, you would see electrons spinning around a nucleus in a dizzying dance. There is no stillness. The solidity of the table is an illusion, a trick of our limited perception. What we call solid is simply energy vibrating at a frequency so dense and low that it appears to be at rest. This principle extends to everything. The light that allows you to see these words is an electromagnetic vibration. The sound of my voice reaching your ears is a vibration traveling through the air. The warmth you feel from the sun is a thermal vibration. The only difference between sound, matter, light, and even thought itself is its characteristic rate of vibration, its frequency. The entire universe, from the slowest, densest rock to the highest, most ethereal thought, is a single, immense orchestra of vibrating energy, an infinite keyboard of frequencies. Nothing is truly separate. Everything is just a different note being played on the same cosmic instrument. And you are a note in this orchestra. You are not a static, physical body that occasionally has a thought or a feeling. You are a complex, dynamic field of vibrating energy. Your physical body is a collection of trillions of atoms, all vibrating together to create the form you call yourself. But you are also a field of non-physical energy. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your moods, and most importantly, your emotions are also vibrations. A thought of deep, unconditional love does not have the same energetic signature as a thought of bitter resentment. A feeling of expansive joy does not vibrate at the same frequency as a feeling of constricting fear. This is the key that unlocks the most famous and most misunderstood spiritual law of all, the law of attraction. The common phrase associated with this law is like attracts like. But this is often misinterpreted. It does not mean that if you want a new car, you will attract other cars to you. It means that like vibrations attract like vibrations. The universe is a realm of vibrational resonance. The most effective analogy is that of a tuning fork. If you have two tuning forks engineered to the exact same frequency, and you strike one of them in a quiet room, the other one, sitting untouched across the room, will begin to hum softly. It will begin to vibrate in sympathy, in resonance with the first one. It is not attracted to the physical metal of the first fork. It is responding to its specific energetic frequency. You are a human tuning fork, broadcasting a complex vibrational signal into the universe at every moment of your existence. And the universe, which is made of the same responsive vibrational energy, must, by law, bring you experiences, people, and circumstances that are a vibrational match to the signal you are broadcasting. It cannot do otherwise. It is not a system of reward or punishment. It is a system of physics. A radio that is tuned to 98.7 FM cannot play the music being broadcast on 105.1 FM. It is not being punished by the 105.1 station. It is simply not in resonance with that frequency. In the same way, you cannot live a joyful, abundant, and healthy life if your dominant, habitual vibration is one of fear, lack, and resentment. The universe is not withholding joy from you. You are simply tuned to the misery station. So, this begs the most important question of all. How do you know what frequency you are tuned to? How can you identify the signal you are broadcasting? The answer is beautifully simple. And it is a gift you were given at birth. You know your vibration through your emotions. Your feelings are your built-in, infallible vibrational guidance system. When you feel good, when you experience emotions like joy, love, gratitude, passion, excitement, and appreciation, it is a direct indication that you are vibrating at a high, fast frequency. You are in alignment with the natural, core frequency of the universe, which Abraham Hicks, the modern masters of this teaching, call the vortex of well-being. When you feel bad, when you experience emotions like fear, anger, jealousy, despair, guilt, or powerlessness, it is a direct indication that you are vibrating at a low, slow frequency. You are out of alignment, offering a vibration that is contrary to your true nature and your true desires. In their groundbreaking audiobook, Ask and It Is Given, Esther and Jerry Hicks present the teachings of a collective consciousness they call Abraham, which provides the most detailed and practical roadmap for understanding and applying these laws. One of their most useful tools is the emotional guidance scale. It's a spectrum of emotions ranging from the highest vibrations to the lowest. At the very top, you have joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. In the middle, you find feelings like hopefulness, contentment, and optimism. Further down, you encounter boredom, frustration, and impatience. And at the very bottom are the lowest frequencies: worry, doubt, blame, anger, revenge, jealousy, fear, grief, and powerlessness. Understanding this scale is liberating, because it shows that the goal is not to make an impossible leap from the bottom to the top. If you are feeling deep despair, trying to force yourself to feel joy is vibrationally impossible and will only lead to more frustration. The work, the real art of deliberate creation, is to simply reach for a thought that feels a little bit better. The goal is simply relief from a state of powerlessness. A thought of anger is actually a step up the vibrational scale. Anger, while negative, has more energy and power than complete despair. It is a sign that you are beginning to reclaim your power. From anger, you might be able to reach for a feeling of blame, then frustration, then overwhelm, and from overwhelm, you might be able to find a sliver of hopefulness, and from hopefulness, you can eventually find your way to optimism, and then to joy. It is a gradual process of deliberately choosing thoughts that offer a slightly higher frequency, a slightly better feeling. Feeling good is therefore not a luxury or a frivolous pursuit. It is the most important spiritual work you can do. It is the work of tuning your instrument. When you deliberately choose a thought that makes you feel good, when you put on a piece of music that uplifts you, when you spend time in nature and feel a sense of peace, you are actively changing your vibrational frequency. You are becoming a vibrational match for all the things you desire. You are turning your radio dial from the station of lack and fear to the station of abundance and well-being. We have now uncovered the engine of creation. We understand that the universe is a vast field of vibration, and that our own vibration is the signal we send out to attract our life experiences. We know that our emotions are the perfect guide to understanding that signal at any given moment. We have moved from a philosophical understanding to a practical, physical mechanism. The logical next step, then, is to move from being a passive broadcaster, simply vibrating in reaction to the world around us, to becoming a conscious, deliberate broadcaster. How do we choose our station with intention? How do we formulate a clear, powerful, and focused signal that the universe can respond to? This requires that we learn the true and subtle art of asking. We have arrived at a pivotal moment in our journey. We understand that we live in a vast, mental universe that operates on the law of vibration. We have discovered that our emotions are our infallible guide to the frequency we are broadcasting. We are no longer passive victims of circumstance, but conscious energy fields with the potential to create. Now, we must learn to use that potential with intention. We must learn the language of the cosmos. We must learn the true art of asking. There is a promise that echoes through nearly every spiritual tradition on earth. Ask, and you shall receive. It is a beautiful, simple, and powerful statement. Yet, for so many, it feels like a lie. People ask, they beg, they plead, they pray for health, for abundance, for love, and their circumstances remain stubbornly the same. They look at their lives and see only the reflection of their unanswered requests. The problem, however, is not with the law. The law is as impartial and consistent as the law of gravity. The problem is that we have not been taught how to ask correctly. We are speaking English to a universe that only understands the language of energy and vibration. The most common mistake, the reason most requests fall on deaf ears, is that we ask from a place of lack. Our asking is a complaint in disguise. We say, "Oh, universe, please, I desperately need more money. I am so broke," we say. "I don't want to be sick and tired anymore," we say. "I can't stand being so lonely." Listen carefully to the energy behind those statements. The dominant vibration in the first request is broke and desperate. The dominant vibration in the second is sick and tired. The dominant vibration in the third is lonely. The universe, as a perfect vibrational mirror, does not hear your polite words or your nuanced grammar. It feels the core frequency of your broadcast. It feels broke. And it gives you more experiences of being broke. It feels sick. And it reflects back more circumstances that create sickness. It feels lonely, and it dutifully arranges more situations that confirm your loneliness. The universe is not punishing you, it is simply matching your signal. Perfectly and impersonally. To ask effectively, you must first fundamentally shift your focus. You must stop talking about what you don't want and start defining, with absolute clarity, what you do want. This is not a mere trick of positive thinking. It is a profound act of vibrational realignment. You must turn your back on the current, unwanted reality and fix your gaze entirely on the desired one. So, instead of "I don't want to be sick," your clear, focused request becomes, "I want to experience vibrant, radiant health and boundless energy in my body." Feel the difference. The first is a low-frequency complaint. The second is a high-frequency declaration of desire. Instead of "I hate my dead-end job," the request becomes, "I am excited and ready to attract a career that is fulfilling, abundant, and creatively inspiring." You are shifting your point of attraction from what is to what you want to be. Clarity is the blueprint, but a blueprint alone has never built a house. You need power. You need fuel to make it a reality. In the mental universe, the fuel is emotion. A thought, by itself, is a faint whisper. A thought that is supercharged with powerful, heartfelt emotion is a magnetic roar that the entire cosmos can hear. This is the second and most crucial part of the art of asking. You must generate the feeling of your wish already fulfilled. You must feel it in your body, right now, before there is any physical evidence of it. This is the magic. How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and your bank account was overflowing with abundance? You would feel relief, security, freedom, excitement. Your job is to find a way to generate those feelings of relief, security, and freedom today, even while your bank account looks the same. How would you feel if you were already in the arms of a loving partner? You would feel cherished, joyful, connected, safe. Your work is to cultivate those exact feelings within yourself now. You must become a vibrational match to the reality you wish to attract. This is where practical techniques become invaluable. Tools designed to help you clarify your vision and generate the necessary emotion. Many of these methods were powerfully brought together in the wildly popular audiobook and film, The Secret, by Rhonda Byrne, which served as a massive global introduction to these concepts. It outlines a three-step process: ask, believe, receive. We are focusing now on making the ask as powerful as possible. A primary tool for this is visualization. This is not just idle daydreaming. It is a focused, deliberate, multi-sensory mental rehearsal of your desired reality. If you desire a beautiful home by the sea, you don't just think about it. You close your eyes. You take a deep breath, and you step into it with your imagination. You see the sunlight glinting off the water through your window. You hear the sound of the waves crashing on the shore. You feel the cool sea breeze on your skin. You smell the salty air. You walk through the rooms, feeling the smooth texture of the kitchen counter, the soft fabric of the sofa. You invite friends over in your mind and feel the joy and pride of entertaining them in your beautiful new space. The more detailed, sensory, and real you make this mental movie, the more your body and subconscious mind believe it is real, and the more you generate the authentic emotional frequency of already being there. Another immensely powerful technique is scripting. This involves taking a journal and writing about your desire in the past tense, as if you are joyfully recording a memory that has already happened. You write with detail, passion, and above all, gratitude. For example, you might write, "I am so unbelievably happy and grateful today, I can't stop smiling. The love of my life just proposed to me, and it was more romantic and perfect than I ever could have dreamed. The way they looked at me, with so much love and devotion. My heart feels like it could burst with joy. I feel so safe, so cherished, and so excited to spend the rest of our lives together. This is everything I have ever wanted. By writing it down, you are solidifying the vision. By writing in the past tense, you are signaling to the universe and your own subconscious that this is a done deal. The act of writing focuses your mind, and the act of infusing it with gratitude elevates your vibration to one of the highest possible frequencies. These tools: visualization, scripting, creating vision boards with images that evoke your desires, are not meant to be chores. They are meant to be joyful games you play with the universe. Their sole purpose is to help you feel good now, to help you embody the emotional state of having what you want, long before it appears in your physical reality. This is the art of asking. It is to define your desire with crystalline clarity, to turn away from the reality of its absence, and to pour the high-octane fuel of positive emotion into your vision until it feels so real, so solid in your mind and heart, that its physical manifestation is the only possible next logical step. You have now learned how to be a conscious broadcaster. You have the tools to craft a clear, powerful, high-frequency signal and send it out into the creative mind of the universe. The asking part of the process is now understood. But this brings us to the next, and for many people, the most subtle and challenging part of the journey. Once you have launched your rocket of desire, you must take your hands off the controls. You must trust that it is on its way. You must learn the profound and often paradoxical art of letting go. We have now learned the sacred art of asking. We have learned to craft our desires with clarity, to turn our focus away from lack, and to fuel our vision with the powerful, magnetic energy of emotion. We have become a conscious broadcaster, sending a clear, high-frequency signal into the living, mental universe. You have placed your order with the cosmos, and now comes the most subtle, the most misunderstood, and for many, the most difficult part of the entire creative process. After you have launched your rocket of desire, after you have done the work of aligning your energy, you must do something that feels profoundly counterintuitive. You must let it go. This is the great paradox of surrender. You have done your visualizations. You have scripted in your journal. You have felt the glorious feeling of your wish fulfilled. And you wait. But in that waiting period, a subtle and insidious enemy often emerges: impatience. A little voice begins to whisper in your ear. Is it working? When is it going to happen? Maybe I didn't do it right. I don't see any evidence. This is probably not going to work. You start checking your bank account, looking at your phone for a text message, scanning the horizon for any sign that your request has been heard. This state of anxious checking, of needing to see the result before you can relax, is a powerful vibration in itself. It is the vibration of not having it. Imagine you are trying to send a clear radio signal. With your focused visualization, you broadcast a powerful, high-frequency signal that says, I am abundant and joyful. I am in a loving relationship. I am in perfect health. But then, 5 minutes later, your anxious need for control kicks in, and you begin broadcasting a second, contradictory signal. Where is it? Why isn't it here yet? I'm still broke. I'm still lonely. I'm still sick. The universe, as a perfect mirror, receives both of these signals. It receives your high-frequency desire, and it receives your low-frequency doubt. The result is an energetic stalemate. Your desire is held in a cosmic holding pattern, unable to land in your physical reality because you keep broadcasting a contradictory frequency that says, don't come yet. I don't really believe you're here. This is what is known as resistance, clinging desperately to your desire, needing it to happen to feel good, is like trying to catch a butterfly with a clenched fist. Your tension and your grasping energy scare it away. To receive, you must have an open, relaxed, and trusting palm. This is why surrender is essential. And we must be absolutely clear about what surrender means. Letting go does not mean giving up on your desire. It does not mean becoming apathetic or deciding you don't want it anymore. That would be canceling your order. True surrender is the act of giving up your attachment to a specific outcome, on a specific timeline, delivered in a specific way. It is releasing your desperate need to control the how and the when. You have done your job, which is to decide what you want and to align with it vibrationally. Now, you must allow the universe to do its job, which is to figure out the infinitely complex logistics of the how. You have placed your order with the master chef of the cosmos. You do not need to run into the kitchen and tell the chef how to chop the vegetables or what temperature to set the oven. Your only job now is to enjoy your appetizer and trust that a magnificent meal is on its way. This state of trust is what many traditions call faith. Not a blind faith in an external dogma, but an active, conscious state of knowing that a higher intelligence is at work. It is the unwavering inner conviction that the universe heard your request and is, at this very moment, orchestrating a symphony of events, people, and coincidences to bring it to you in the most perfect and harmonious way possible. This universal mind can see the entire cosmic chessboard, while your conscious mind can only see 1 or 2 squares ahead. Its solutions are often more ingenious, more magical, and more elegant than anything you could have possibly devised. To keep the faith is to relax into this knowing, to trust the process, even and especially when there is no physical evidence to support it yet. There is an ancient parable that perfectly illustrates this principle of faith and patience. It is the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. A farmer plants a tiny, precious seed for this remarkable type of bamboo. He diligently waters and fertilizes the patch of ground where the seed is buried. He does this every single day for the first year. At the end of the year, nothing has happened. Not a single sprout has broken the surface. His neighbors tell him he is wasting his time. He continues to water the ground every day for the second year. Still nothing. The third year passes. And the fourth year. 4 solid years of faith, labor, and care, with absolutely no visible result. He is watering a patch of dirt. Then, sometime in the 5th year, a tiny green sprout finally pushes its way through the soil. And then, an absolute miracle occurs. In the space of just 6 weeks, the Chinese bamboo tree shoots up to over 80 feet tall. Now, the question is, did the tree grow 80 feet in 6 weeks? Of course not. It grew for 5 years, but for those first 5 years, all of its growth was happening underground. It was building an incredibly vast, strong, and complex root system, a foundation powerful enough to support its sudden, explosive, and magnificent outward growth. This is a perfect metaphor for the process of manifestation. The period between your asking and its physical arrival is not an empty, waiting time. It is the time when the universe is building the root system for your desire. It is rearranging the energetic furniture of the world, influencing other people, clearing old obstacles from your path, and lining up the perfect synchronicities. Your job during this underground phase is simply to keep watering the ground. You water it with your faith. You water it with your good feelings. You water it by trusting that the unseen growth is happening, even when your 5 senses tell you that nothing is changing. In her powerful and practical audiobook, Super Attractor, the spiritual teacher Gabrielle Bernstein offers modern techniques for cultivating this state of surrender. She encourages you to adopt the simple mantra, "The universe has my back." Whenever you feel the anxiety, the doubt, the need to control creeping in, you can gently repeat this phrase to yourself, either out loud or in your mind. I choose to believe the universe has my back. This simple act can soothe the ego and shift you back into a state of trust. Another practice is to actively give it over. You can perform a small ritual. Write your desire on a piece of paper. Hold it in your hands and say, "I release the how and the when to the wisdom of the universe. I trust that this, or something better, is now on its way to me for the highest good of all. Then, you can burn the paper, bury it, or place it in a special box, symbolically releasing your tight grip on it. The final secret is this: the fastest way to receive your desire is to stop needing it to be happy. The paradox is that the moment you find joy in your present reality, the moment you make peace with what is and decide to feel good no matter what, is often the very moment the floodgates open and everything you wanted rushes in. Why? Because you have finally become a pure, unadulterated vibrational match to the well-being you desire. You have stopped sending out the contradictory signal of lack. You are an open, receptive channel. Surrender, then, is not passivity. It is the highest form of active faith. It is the conscious choice to align with the flow of a wise and benevolent universe instead of fighting against its currents. Once you have asked with clarity and emotion, your only work is to be happy now. But does this mean we simply sit on the couch and meditate all day, waiting for our dreams to fall into our laps? Is there no place for action in this creative process? There is, and it is a vital component. But it is a very different kind of action from the struggle and force we have been taught to value. It is the effortless and joyful action of flow and inspiration. We have arrived at a place of profound trust. We have asked for our desires with clarity and emotion, and we have surrendered the outcome to the wisdom of a higher power, choosing to believe that the universe has our back. This naturally leads to a critical, practical question. So, what now? Do we simply sit on our meditation cushions and wait for a bag of money or a soulmate to be delivered to our door? Is the art of allowing simply a cosmic permission slip for laziness? The answer is a resounding no, but it is a permission slip for a different kind of living. A release from the paradigm of struggle that most of us have been taught is the only path to success. The universe does not want you to be passive. It wants to co-create with you. And this co-creation happens through action. However, there are two fundamentally different kinds of action, and they spring from two opposing vibrational states. Understanding the difference is the key to moving from a life of exhausting effort to a life of joyful, magical flow. On one side, you have the action that our culture relentlessly glorifies. This is hard work. This is the hustle, the grind. It is waking up at 4 in the morning, not because you are inspired, but because you feel you are falling behind. It is forcing yourself to make one more sales call when your body and soul are exhausted. It is pushing, striving, struggling, and muscling your way toward a goal. While this approach can sometimes yield results, we must look at the energy behind it. This kind of forceful action almost always springs from a low-frequency vibration. It comes from fear, the fear that if you stop pushing, everything will collapse. It comes from a belief in lack, the idea that success is a limited resource that you must fight for. It comes from a fundamental lack of trust in the universe, a belief that you are all alone and must force your will upon an indifferent world. This is the vibrational equivalent of trying to push a giant boulder up a steep hill. It is exhausting, stressful, and deeply inefficient. It is swimming against the current. On the other side, there is a completely different kind of action. This is inspired action. Inspired action does not come from a place of fear or lack. It arises naturally and effortlessly after you have done the vibrational work of alignment. It is the action you take when you are already in a state of feeling good, of trust, of surrender. It doesn't feel like work at all. It feels like play. It feels like the next most exciting, logical, or fun thing to do. It feels light. Using our boulder analogy, inspired action is not pushing the boulder uphill. It is waiting until the universe, through the power of your alignment, has miraculously moved the boulder to the very top of the hill for you. And your job is simply to give it one gentle, joyful nudge and watch it roll effortlessly toward your destination. Inspired action is flowing with the current. So how can you tell the difference? How do you know if an impulse to act is coming from your struggling ego or your inspired soul? There are several clear indicators. The first is the feeling. Hard work feels heavy. It comes with a sense of obligation, a feeling of I should do this, or I have to do this. It's often accompanied by dread or resistance. Inspired action feels light and effortless. It feels like a want to, a wouldn't it be fun if, or a what if I just. There is an energy of excitement, curiosity, and eagerness behind it. The second indicator is its origin. Forceful action usually comes from the analytical, logical mind trying to plot out every single step from A to Z. It's the mind trying to control the how. Inspired action, on the other hand, often appears as a sudden flash of insight. A creative idea that pops into your head while you are relaxed, perhaps taking a shower, going for a walk, or listening to music. It can be a gut feeling, an intuitive nudge that doesn't have a logical explanation but simply feels right. It's the spontaneous urge to take a different route home from work, where you happen to see a for rent sign on your dream apartment. It's the sudden desire to call an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, only to find they have the perfect contact for your new business venture. The ultimate parable for living a life of inspired action is Paulo Coelho's timeless and magical novel, The Alchemist. Listening to this story as an audiobook is a transformative experience, as it allows you to journey alongside the protagonist, a young Andalusian shepherd boy named Santiago. Santiago has a clear destination. He has a recurring dream about a treasure buried at the foot of the Egyptian pyramids. This is his ask, but he has no map, no detailed 10-step plan, no guarantee of success. His entire epic journey is an exercise in taking one inspired action after another. He does not have a business plan to sell his beloved flock of sheep. He has a mysterious encounter with an old king who tells him to follow his personal legend, and the impulse to trust him feels right. He doesn't plan to work for a year in a crystal shop in Tangier. He gets robbed of all his money, and in his despair, the simple, inspired action is to help a struggling merchant clean his dusty glassware, an act that becomes the source of his new fortune. He does not plot a course across the vast Sahara Desert. He joins a caravan and learns to listen to the silence of the desert and the wisdom of his own heart. He doesn't use logic to find the oasis. He watches the flight of two hawks in the sky, an omen, and trusts his interpretation of it, which leads him directly to the wells and to Fatima, the love of his life. The central philosophy of The Alchemist is that when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. That conspiracy is the stream of inspired actions and omens that guide you forward. Santiago's job was not to force the outcome or to map the entire river from source to sea. His job was to become sensitive to the currents, to recognize the gentle nudges from the universe, and to have the courage to act on them, one step at a time. This does not mean you are absolved of participation. The universe will meet you halfway, but you must take those first, inspired steps. The universe will open a door, but you still have to walk through it. A brilliant idea for a book may drop into your mind as a gift of inspiration, but you still have to sit down and type the first sentence. A sudden urge to attend a workshop is an invitation from the universe, but you still have to register and show up. Inspired action is the beautiful dance of co-creation. The universe provides the music and the favorable winds. You must have the wisdom to raise your sails and steer your ship in the direction of the breeze. We are now free from the tyrannical belief that our success is directly proportional to our suffering and struggle. We are shifting from a paradigm of burnout and force to one of alignment, flow, and joy. Your success is not measured by the hours you clock in or the sweat on your brow, but by how attuned you are to the whispers of your own intuition and how much you allow yourself to be guided. The goal is no longer to make things happen, but to let them happen through you, and to joyfully participate in the magical unfolding of your life. This journey of inspired action, as Santiago so beautifully discovered, is a constant conversation with the universe. He learned to follow the omens. But what are these omens in our own modern lives? How does the universe speak to us? guiding us and confirming that we are on the right path. This is the divine and playful language of synchronicity. Have you ever been thinking about an old friend? Someone you haven't seen or spoken to in years. And at that very moment, your phone rings and their name appears on the screen. Have you ever had a difficult problem weighing on your mind, only to open a book to a random page and find the exact sentence that holds the perfect answer? Or perhaps you've been driving, lost in thought, and the lyrics of a song on the radio suddenly speak directly to your situation with startling clarity. We have all experienced these strange, delightful, and sometimes eerie moments. We usually dismiss them with a shrug and a laugh, calling them just a coincidence. But what if they are not just a coincidence at all? What if these moments are something more? What if they are the universe winking at you? The great Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, a pioneering scientist of the mind, was so fascinated by these events that he refused to dismiss them as mere chance. He saw them happening too often, and with too much significance, to be statistically random. He gave this phenomenon a name: synchronicity. He defined it as a causal connecting principle, a term that simply means a meaningful coincidence between an inner psychological event, like a thought or a feeling, and an outer physical event, where there is no direct causal link between the two. Your thought of your friend did not physically cause their finger to dial your number. The two events are separate in the world of cause and effect, but they are profoundly connected in the world of meaning. Jung believed that these synchronicities were moments when the veil between the inner world and the outer world becomes thin, revealing an underlying order and intelligence in the cosmos. He saw them as proof that the universe is not just a cold, mechanical machine, but a unified whole, where the mind and matter are deeply intertwined. For our purposes, we can think of synchronicity in a simpler, more magical way. It is the language of the universe. It is the trail of breadcrumbs left for you on your path. It is the system of omens that the old king and the alchemist urged Santiago to follow. When you have done the work of aligning your vibration, of surrendering to the flow, and of taking inspired action, the universe begins to speak back to you. It sends you these meaningful coincidences as confirmation, as guidance, and as encouragement. They are the cosmic equivalent of a text message saying, "Yes, that's it, keep going. You're on the right track." Once you know what to look for, you will begin to see this language everywhere. It manifests in countless playful and creative ways. One of the most common is through repeating numbers. You might find yourself glancing at the clock at exactly 11:11 every day. You might see the number 444 on license plates, receipts, and street addresses. While there are many different interpretations for what these numbers mean, the true significance is less about the specific number and more about the act of noticing. It is the universe simply tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm with you. Pay attention." Another common form is through overheard conversations or song lyrics. You'll be pondering a difficult decision, and as you walk through a cafe, you'll hear a snippet of a stranger's conversation that contains the exact piece of advice you needed to hear. You'll be feeling down, and a song you've never heard before will come on the radio with lyrics that lift your spirits and speak directly to your heart. The universe is using the material of the world as its vocabulary. Synchronicity also appears in the form of perfect timing. You get a sudden urge to leave for your appointment 10 minutes early, only to find out later that you narrowly avoided a major traffic accident. You run into the one person you needed to connect with for a project in the most unlikely of places, like a grocery store in a different city. A book literally falls off a shelf in a bookstore and lands at your feet, and it turns out to be the one book that will change your life. These are not accidents, they are divine appointments, orchestrated by the flow of the universe that you have aligned yourself with. The spiritual adventure novel, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, is essentially a thrilling fictional guidebook on how to live in the state of constant, guided synchronicity. As an audiobook, it draws you into a quest where the characters learn to perceive the world not as a solid, random place, but as a fluid, energetic reality. The ancient manuscript at the heart of the story describes how humanity is evolving to a new level of awareness, where we learn to follow the flow of these mystical coincidences. The characters learn to cultivate a state of what the book calls perceptual readiness. Before they act, they ask themselves, what is my next question? What do I need to know now then? They enter a state of relaxed, open awareness, trusting that the very next person they meet, or the next event that occurs will hold the answer. They learn to see life as a thrilling mystery, where every encounter and every coincidence is a clue leading them toward their destiny. So how do you cultivate this ability to perceive and follow synchronicity in your own life? You cannot force it, like a wild animal. It will not appear if you are aggressively hunting for it. You must create a welcoming, peaceful environment for it to emerge. The first and most important step is to be present. As we learned from Eckhart Tolle, if you are lost in the anxious chatter of your mind, you will be blind and deaf to the subtle signals the universe is sending you in the here and now. You cannot see the omen in front of you if your attention is in yesterday or tomorrow. The second step is to adopt an attitude of open, playful curiosity. Don't be so quick to dismiss things as just a coincidence. When a strange coincidence happens, instead of shrugging it off, pause for a moment and ask, what if this is a message? What could it be telling me? Suspend your disbelief and allow for the possibility of magic. The third step is to set clear intentions. When you wake up in the morning, you can silently ask the universe a question. Universe, please guide my steps today. Or, show me a sign that I am on the right path toward my goal of vibrant health. Then, you must let the question go completely and simply observe your day with an open heart. You have planted the seed. Now watch to see what sprouts. Finally, when a synchronicity does occur, no matter how small, acknowledge it with gratitude. A simple, silent, thank you to the universe is a powerful act. It's like telling your cosmic partner, message received, I'm listening. Keep them coming. This act of appreciation strengthens the connection and creates a positive feedback loop, inviting more and more of these magical moments into your life. Learning to decode the language of synchronicity transforms life from a mundane series of disconnected events into a thrilling, magical adventure. It is the ultimate confirmation that you are not alone, and that you are not moving through a random, chaotic world. You are in a constant, loving, and supportive dialogue with an intelligent and responsive cosmos that is always conspiring in your favor. As you learn to trust this flow of inspired action and follow these winks from the universe, you begin to see your life transform in miraculous ways. But there is one area that, for many of us, remains a place of intense struggle and resistance. An area that can dam up this beautiful flow of well-being faster than any other. To truly step into a reality of complete freedom and creation, we must now turn our attention to confronting and healing our relationship with one of the most powerful and charged energies in our society, the energy of money. We are learning to live in the flow. We are taking inspired action, following the trail of synchronicities, and co-creating with a universe that is constantly speaking to us. We are building a reality based on trust, joy, and alignment. And yet, for so many of us, there is a giant boulder blocking this beautiful, flowing river. It is a boulder made of anxiety, guilt, fear, and resentment. And that boulder has a name: money. Take a moment and just notice how that word lands in your body. Money. What feelings does it evoke? For many, it triggers a tightening in the chest, a knot in the stomach. It brings up feelings of stress, of scarcity, of never having enough. It conjures images of bills to pay, of striving and struggling, of the gap between the life we have and the life we want. This emotional charge is a powerful vibrational signal, and it reveals that our relationship with money is one of the most significant and often unconscious blocks to our overall well-being and creative power. To truly step into a life of freedom, we must demystify money and heal our relationship with its energy. The first step is to understand that your beliefs about money are almost certainly not your own. They are programs that were installed in you from a very young age. You inherited them from your parents, who inherited them from their parents. You absorbed them from your culture, your religion, and your society. These beliefs run so deep in your subconscious that you mistake them for objective reality. We must bring these money viruses out of the darkness and into the light of our conscious awareness. One of the most pervasive is the idea that money is the root of all evil. This is not only a misquote. The original phrase is, "The love of money is a root of all kinds of evil," but it creates a massive subconscious conflict. If you believe, on some level, that money is evil or corrupting, how can you ever allow yourself to have a lot of it without seeing yourself as a bad person? You will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity for wealth to protect your identity as a good person. Another common virus is the belief that rich people are greedy and unethical. We are fed stories of ruthless CEOs and selfish billionaires, leading us to associate wealth with negative character traits. This creates a powerful energetic pushback. If you want to be rich, but you believe rich people are bad, you are sending the universe two completely contradictory signals. You are simultaneously asking for wealth and judging it as immoral. Then there are the beliefs that link wealth with suffering, like you have to work incredibly hard and sacrifice your life to become wealthy, or it's more spiritual to be poor. These ideas make abundance seem like a punishment, something that requires you to trade your happiness and integrity for financial gain. And perhaps the most personal and damaging beliefs are the ones about our own worthiness. I'm just not good with money, or I don't deserve to be rich. These are not just beliefs, they are identity statements that program your reality on a minute-by-minute basis. To heal this, we must adopt a new, liberating perspective. Money is not paper, and it is not numbers on a screen. Money is energy. That is all it is. It is a neutral, flowing current of energy that is a symbol of the value and service that is being exchanged between people. Like electricity, it is inherently neither good nor bad. It simply is. And like electricity, its purpose is to flow. Money in the hands of a generous, loving person can build hospitals, fund life-saving research, and feed the hungry. Money in the hands of a fearful, hateful person can fund wars and destruction. The money is not the problem, it is merely an amplifier. Money does not change who you are, it just makes you more of who you already are. This realization removes all moral judgment from money itself and places the responsibility back where it belongs, on the consciousness of the person wielding it. This leads us to the two fundamental mindsets through which we can view wealth. The first is the scarcity mindset. This is the default programming for much of the world. It sees life as a limited pie. If someone else gets a big slice, that means there is less for me. It fosters competition, jealousy, fear, and hoarding. It is a vibration of not enough. And from this vibration, you can only create more experiences of not enough. The second, and the one we must consciously cultivate, is the abundance mindset. The abundance mindset sees life as an infinite, inexhaustible ocean. It knows that one person lighting their candle from another does not diminish the original flame. It understands that someone else's success is not a threat to your own. On the contrary, it is proof of what is possible, a celebration of the universe's infinite supply. This mindset fosters collaboration, generosity, and a deep sense of trust. It is the vibration of more than enough. And from this vibration, you can only attract more experiences of abundance. In his legendary audiobook, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill created what is essentially a master textbook on the consciousness of wealth. Commissioned by the great industrialist Andrew Carnegie, Hill spent over 2 decades studying the habits, philosophies, And, most importantly, the minds of the most successful people of his era. His conclusion was that riches begin not with money, but with a state of mind. They begin with what he called a white-hot, burning desire, which is the emotional fuel we have spoken of. You must want wealth with the same intensity that a drowning man wants air. But beyond that, you must cultivate an unshakable faith that you can and will achieve it. The entire book is a guide to programming your mind for success. Using techniques like autosuggestion, what we now call affirmations, to impress your desires upon your powerful subconscious mind. Hill's work proves that wealth is an inside job. You must see yourself, feel yourself, and carry yourself as a wealthy person in your imagination before the universe can mirror that reality back to you. So, how do we begin this practical work of rewiring our consciousness for abundance? First, we practice gratitude for the money we already have. No matter how little it may seem, when you pay a bill, instead of feeling the pain of the money, leaving CS, I feel genuine gratitude for the service you received, the electricity that powered your home, the food that nourished you. Bless the money as it leaves, knowing it is flowing out to support others and will flow back to you multiplied. Second, we must learn to bless the wealth of others. This is a powerful antidote to the poison of jealousy. When you see someone driving a beautiful car or living in a magnificent home, instead of feeling a pang of envy, which is a vibration of lack, silently or out loud, say, I bless that person and their abundance. Thank you, universe, for showing me what is possible. In that moment, you shift from a frequency of scarcity to one of appreciation and possibility. You align yourself with the very wealth you are admiring. Third, we must begin to embody the feeling of being wealthy now. How would you act if you had $10 million in the bank? You would walk taller. You would be more relaxed. You would likely be more generous. Start embodying that energy today. Tip a little more generously. Donate a small amount to a cause you believe in. Buy the good quality coffee instead of the cheap instant kind. These small acts are declarations to the universe that you are an abundant being, that you trust in the flow of supply. We have now learned to consciously examine and reframe our beliefs about this powerful energy. By seeing money as a neutral tool, by shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, and by practicing new habits of gratitude and appreciation, we can dissolve the boulder of resistance and allow the river of financial well-being to flow freely and joyfully into our lives. But we must acknowledge that many of these old, limiting beliefs about our worthiness and the nature of wealth are not held in our rational, conscious mind. They are deeply embedded programs, running on autopilot in the powerful, hidden operating system of our being, the subconscious mind. To create profound and lasting change, it is not enough to simply change our thinking. We must become the architects of our own deep programming. We have peeled back the layers of reality. Moving from the cosmic to the personal, we have learned to consciously choose our thoughts and to cultivate an abundance mindset, particularly around the charged energy of money. We are learning to speak the language of the universe. Yet, many of us find ourselves in a frustrating cycle. We set a conscious intention. We feel motivated for a day or a week. But then, inevitably, we find ourselves slipping back into the same old habits, the same old reactions, the same old self-defeating patterns. Why is lasting change so difficult? Why does willpower so often feel like a losing battle? The answer lies deep beneath the surface of our awareness. In the vast, powerful, and hidden engine that runs our lives. Imagine your consciousness is a giant iceberg. The small tip that you can see floating above the water, that is your conscious mind. It is the part of you that sets goals, that analyzes, that worries, and that uses willpower. It accounts for, at most, 5% of your total mind. But the immense, sprawling, powerful mass of ice hidden beneath the waves, the part that actually steers the iceberg and determines its direction, that is your subconscious mind. It is the other 95%. And it is running the show. Your subconscious mind is the hard drive of your being. Its capacity is virtually limitless. It has stored every single experience you have ever had, every word ever spoken to you, every emotion you have ever felt, every belief you have ever formed. Its primary job is to be an efficient, automated system. It takes on all the complex tasks you've learned, so they become second nature: walking, driving a car, typing, or even your emotional reaction to criticism. It creates habits and programs so that your conscious mind is free to focus on new things. It is an incredibly powerful and loyal servant. However, it was programmed without your conscious consent. The most significant programming occurred in the first 7 years of your life. During this period, a child's brain operates primarily in theta brainwave states, which is a state of high suggestibility, similar to a state of hypnosis. As a child, you didn't have a fully developed analytical mind to question or reject information. You simply absorbed the beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of the people around you, your parents, your teachers, your culture as fundamental truths about how the world works. Statements like money doesn't grow on trees. You have to be careful. The world is a dangerous place. You're not as smart as your sister. Or you're only lovable. When you are quiet and well-behaved, were not just words. They were downloaded directly into your operating system as core programs. The subconscious mind is not rational or creative. It is habitual. It does not judge whether a program is good or bad for you. Its only job is to execute the program flawlessly. So, if you have a subconscious program that says, "I am not worthy of love," you can consciously desire a loving relationship with all your heart. But your subconscious, in its effort to run its program efficiently, will cause you to unconsciously sabotage relationships, to be attracted to unavailable partners, and to find evidence everywhere that proves its core belief is true. This is why willpower so often fails. The conscious mind, using willpower, is like a tiny person on a raft with a small paddle, trying to change the direction of a massive supertanker. The supertanker is the subconscious mind, and it is running on a powerful, pre-programmed autopilot. The tiny captain can paddle with all their might, but eventually, they will become exhausted, and the tanker will continue on its preset course. To truly change the direction of your life, you must stop paddling harder and instead go down into the engine room and reprogram the autopilot. This is where the groundbreaking work of Dr. Joe Dispenza provides us with a scientific and practical roadmap for change. As a neuroscientist, researcher, and mystic, he has dedicated his life to bridging the gap between quantum physics, neuroscience, and spirituality. His work, powerfully detailed in his audiobook, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is a manual for becoming the architect of your own mind. His journey began with his own personal proof of this power. As a young man, he was in a devastating cycling accident that broke 6 vertebrae in his spine. The top doctors told him his only option was a complex surgery to install Harrington rods, which would likely leave him with chronic pain and limited mobility for the rest of his life. Faced with this grim prognosis, Dr. Dispenza made a radical choice. He refused the surgery and decided to see if he could heal himself with the power of his mind alone. For months, he spent hours every single day in a state of intense, focused meditation. He mentally reconstructed his spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. He gave his body clear, specific instructions, and he combined those intentions with an elevated emotion. The feeling of gratitude and wholeness, as if the healing had already occurred. He describes it as an agonizing process, a daily battle against the pain signals from his body and the doubtful chatter of his mind. But he persisted, and after 10 weeks, he walked back into his life, completely healed, without any surgery. His spine was fully repaired, He had proven to himself that the mind could and does create physical reality. His method is based on a simple principle of neuroscience known as Hebb's law: nerve cells that fire together, wire together. Every time you have a thought, a chemical reaction occurs in your brain, causing a network of neurons to fire in a specific sequence. When you repeat the thought or behavior over and over, that neural pathway becomes stronger and more hardwired. Your thoughts and feelings literally shape the physical structure of your brain. To break the habit of being yourself, you must consciously stop firing the old neural networks and begin firing and wiring new ones. The process he teaches through guided meditation is twofold. First, you must become aware of the old self. You must become a conscious observer of your automatic, negative thoughts, your self-limiting behaviors, and your habitual emotional reactions. You have to notice the program running without judgment. This act of observation begins to disconnect you from the program. Second, you must create the new self. This is done through a process of mental rehearsal. By quieting your mind and moving your brainwaves from the active beta state to the suggestible alpha and theta states, you can access your subconscious operating system. In this state, you begin to visualize your desired future. But you don't just see it, you live it. You ask yourself, what would the person I want to be think like? How would they act? How would they feel? You mentally rehearse being this new person. As you do this, you are literally installing new neurological hardware. Your brain begins to change, to look as if the future you desire has already happened. The final, critical ingredient is to combine your clear intention with an elevated emotion. You must feel the gratitude, the joy, the love, the empowerment of your future self. Now, this combination of a clear intention from the mind and an elevated emotion from the body is what rewrites the subconscious program and signals new genes to create a new reality. This is the deep work of creation. It is moving beyond simply thinking positive thoughts and becoming the conscious programmer of your own being. Affirmations, autosuggestion, hypnosis. They are all different tools designed to achieve the same end: to bypass the critical, analytical mind and impress a new, more empowering set of instructions upon the vast and powerful servant that is your subconscious. We are the architects of our own neural pathways. We have the power to literally change our minds, and in doing so, to fundamentally change our health, our wealth, and our lives. This profound work of reprogramming our inner world is the foundation of a new life. But this internal architecture does not exist in a vacuum. It is constantly being tested, reflected, and revealed in the world around us. And it is expressed most powerfully and most clearly in the mirrors of our human relationships. How do the programs we run on the inside, our beliefs about worthiness, love, and trust manifest in the people we attract and the dynamics we create on the outside? We have ventured deep into the inner world. We have learned to reprogram the powerful, hidden machinery of our subconscious mind, to uninstall the limiting beliefs of our past and install new programs of worthiness, abundance, and health. This is the profound, solitary work of the inner architect. But this new internal architecture does not exist in a vacuum. It is constantly tested, reflected, and revealed in the world around us. And nowhere is the reflection clearer or more potent than in the faces of the people we interact with every single day. Our relationships are our most powerful and immediate spiritual feedback system. Think for a moment about the most challenging person in your life. It could be a critical parent, a demanding boss, a distant partenaire, or an unreliable friend. This is the person who seems to have a unique talent for pushing your buttons, for triggering your deepest frustrations and insecurities. Our conventional approach is to see this person as the problem. We blame them, we judge them, we resent them, and we secretly or openly wish they would change, believing that if only they were different, we would be at peace. But what if this entire perspective is fundamentally flawed? What if that person is not your tormentor, but your most dedicated, albeit unconscious. Spiritual teacher. What if they are a sacred mirror, held up by the universe to show you exactly where you are still not free? This is the principle of the mirror of relationships. It is the understanding that your outer world is a direct reflection of your inner world. And this applies most powerfully to the people you attract and the dynamics you create with them. The universe doesn't send you people by accident. It sends you people who are a precise vibrational match to the beliefs and programs you are running on your subconscious hard drive. They are actors, perfectly cast to play a role in the movie that you are directing from the inside. This does not mean you are to blame for another person's hurtful behavior. It does mean that the emotional charge you feel, the way their behavior triggers you, is a signal that their actions have resonated with an unhealed wound or a limiting belief that already exists within you. Let's say you have a deep, subconscious program running that says, "I am not important. My needs don't matter." You will find yourself magnetically drawn to people who tend to be self-absorbed, who interrupt you, who forget your birthday, or who consistently put their own needs before yours. Their behavior is not a random attack. It is a perfect reflection of your own inner belief. They are treating you on the outside the way you are already treating yourself on the inside. The deep frustration you feel is the cry of your soul, using this person as a mirror to beg you to finally see and heal the belief that you are unimportant. We can learn to decode these reflections. The things that irritate and annoy you most intensely in other people are often the qualities you have disowned in yourself. This is what Carl Jung called the shadow self. If you are constantly angered by people you perceive as arrogant and boastful, it may be that you are repressing your own desire to be more confident and take up more space, because you were taught it was wrong or unsafe to do so. Their arrogance mirrors back to you a part of yourself you have locked away. Conversely, the qualities you deeply admire in others are often reflections of your own dormant potential. When you are moved by someone's courage, inspired by their creativity, or touched by their compassion, you are recognizing a quality that also exists within you, waiting to be awakened. They are mirroring your highest self back to you. This perspective invites us to make a radical shift from blame to empowered self-inquiry. The old, disempowering model is to point the finger and say, "You make me feel angry. You need to change." The new, empowered model is to see the other person as a messenger and ask, "Why am I being triggered so strongly by this? What unhealed wound inside of me is this person's behavior activating? What is this situation showing me about myself that I need to heal?" In this way, every frustrating conversation, every disappointment, every conflict becomes a sacred opportunity for growth. The other person is no longer your adversary. They are your ally in evolution. A spotlight showing you the next area of your inner world that needs your loving attention. There is no greater guidebook for learning to navigate our relationships from this empowered state than Don Miguel Ruiz's simple yet profound audiobook, The 4 Agreements, based on ancient Toltec wisdom. These 4 simple promises you make to yourself can revolutionize how you interact with others and, most importantly, with yourself. 2 of these agreements are particularly crucial for understanding the mirror of relationships. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. This is perhaps the most liberating concept you can ever integrate. Ruiz explains that nothing other people do is ever because of you. It is always because of themselves. Every person is living in their own unique dream, seeing the world through the filter of their own programming, their own beliefs, and their own emotional wounds. When someone insults you, they are projecting their own poison, their own inner state, onto you. When someone praises you, they are projecting their own perception of love and beauty onto you. In either case, it has very little to do with the real, essential you. It is a reflection of them. Understanding this creates what Ruiz calls immunity in the middle of hell. The words and actions of others can no longer hurt you, because you realize you are not the target. You are just the screen upon which they are playing their own movie. The third agreement works in perfect harmony with the second. Don't make assumptions. We cause ourselves immense suffering because we assume we know what others are thinking, what their motivations are, and why they do what they do. We then take these assumptions we have created in our own minds personally, and a storm of drama ensues. The antidote is simple, though it requires courage. Be willing to ask questions. Communicate clearly and directly. Instead of assuming your partner is angry with you because they are being quiet, have the courage to ask, "I'm noticing you're quiet. Is everything okay?" By refusing to make assumptions, we stop projecting our own stories onto the mirror and instead create the space to see what is actually there. When you begin to live by these principles, your relationships transform. They cease to be battlegrounds of ego and become sacred workshops for your own healing and evolution. A partner who seems distant becomes an invitation to explore your own fears of intimacy. A boss who micromanages becomes an opportunity to build trust in your own competence. A friend who constantly creates drama becomes a chance for you to practice healthy boundaries and non-attachment. You stop trying to change other people and instead focus on the only thing you can ever truly control: your own inner state. You use the reflections they provide to heal your wounds, to integrate your shadow, and to reclaim your power. This is the true purpose of relationships in a conscious life. They are not meant to complete us, but to make us more whole within ourselves. Other people are not the source of our pain or our happiness. They are the divine messengers who reveal, with perfect clarity, the contents of our own hearts and minds. By taking 100% responsibility for our own emotional landscape and by using every interaction as a tool for self-inquiry, we accelerate our spiritual growth and find a peace that is not dependent on anyone else's behavior. As we begin to clean our own inner mirror, as we heal these deep programs and embrace the parts of ourselves we once denied, something miraculous happens. The drama begins to fall away. The triggers lose their power. Our relationships naturally become more harmonious, loving, and authentic. And in this newfound inner peace and clarity, we create the quiet space needed to hear a deeper calling. We can begin to look beyond the healing of our personal story and ask a much larger question: what is my unique purpose for being here? What is the great work I came here to do? We began this entire journey by standing bravely before a startling proposition that life has no inherent, preordained meaning. We dismantled the external structures that promised us purpose and found a terrifying, yet exhilarating, freedom in the void. We learned to become the creators of our own reality. And yet, after all this work of clearing the slate, a persistent, gentle whisper often remains. It is a quiet yearning from the deepest part of our being. A hunger not just to exist, but to matter. It is the desire for a purpose. This is not a contradiction to our initial discovery, but a deeper layer of truth. Life does not hand you a purpose, but your soul arrives in this world with one already encoded within it, waiting to be discovered and expressed by you. No story has captured this profound truth more beautifully than Paulo Coelho's modern classic, The Alchemist. We have referenced it as a tale of inspired action, but its true heart is about the discovery and fulfillment of what Coelho calls one's personal legend. The personal legend is not a career path or a social role. It is your soul's unique calling. It is the answer to the question, what did you come to this life to experience and express? As the old King Melchizedek explains to the shepherd boy, Santiago, it is what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. It is that pure, uncorrupted dream you held in your heart before the world told you what was practical, realistic, or responsible. This concept is not about some grand, heroic destiny reserved for a chosen few. It is the unique mission encoded in every single soul. For one person, the personal legend might be to create beautiful gardens that bring peace to others. For another, it might be to raise children with immense love and consciousness. For a third, it might be to build a business that solves a community's problem or to create music that heals the human heart. The form is less important than the essence. It is about identifying the unique quality that you, and only you, can bring to the world and then finding a way to express it. It is about aligning your life with the deepest truth of your own soul. Coelho introduces another vital concept, the soul of the world, or what ancient traditions called the anima mundi. This is the idea that the entire universe is a single, living entity, a unified consciousness that is constantly seeking to evolve and experience its own divinity. And here is the secret: your personal legend is never just for you. Your deepest, most personal desire is the mechanism through which the soul of the world seeks to express itself. When you are working on your dream, you are not engaging in a selfish act. You are becoming a channel, a willing partner with the divine. You are doing God's work on earth. This is why, as the book famously states, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. The universe conspires to help you because your personal dream is also its dream. It is a sacred, collaborative project. So how do you discover your personal legend? Especially if you feel lost or disconnected from that childhood dream. The search is not an aggressive, intellectual exercise. It is a gentle process of listening, of tuning into the whispers of your own heart. Your soul is constantly leaving you clues. The first and most important clue is your own excitement. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell famously advised, follow your bliss, your joy, your passion, your deep, authentic enthusiasm. These are not frivolous emotions. They are your soul's internal guidance system, a spiritual GPS pointing you directly toward your purpose. What subjects can you read about for hours without getting bored? What activities make you lose all track of time? What conversations make you feel energized and alive? That feeling of expansion and excitement is a giant, flashing arrow pointing you toward your path. Follow it, even if it seems impractical. The second clue often lies in your childhood. What did you love to do as a child? Before you were taught to worry about making a living or gaining approval, did you love to tell stories, to build things with your hands, to organize your toys, to care for animals, to explore the woods behind your house? Often, the purest expression of our soul's calling can be found in these early, uninhibited passions. Your personal legend is often a more mature, refined version of what brought you the most joy when you were young. A third, more subtle clue can be found in the surprising emotion of envy. Envy is often a distorted signpost. When you feel a sharp pang of envy looking at someone else's life, their creativity, their freedom, their career, their impact on the world, it is not because you want to take what they have. It is because they are embodying a quality or living a reality that your own soul yearns to express. Instead of letting envy curdle into resentment, use it as a diagnostic tool. Ask yourself, what is it about this person's life that my own soul is crying out for? The answer can reveal a hidden piece of your own personal legend. Finally, ask yourself the ultimate clarifying question. If money were no object, if you were guaranteed a comfortable income for the rest of your life, how would you choose to spend your days? What would you do simply for the love of doing it? The answer to this question, stripped of all financial pressure and societal expectation, often points directly to the heart of your purpose. Of course, once you begin to identify your dream, the journey is not without its challenges. Coelho wisely outlines the 4 great obstacles that everyone faces when pursuing their personal legend. The first is being told from birth that our dream is impossible. The second is the fear of hurting the ones we love by choosing our own path. The third is the fear of defeat and the inevitable struggles we will encounter along the way. And the fourth, and most perplexing, is the fear of actually succeeding, the subconscious terror of realizing our dream and being left with the question, what now? Recognizing these fears as universal parts of the journey is the first step in overcoming them. To align your life with your personal legend is the most generous and impactful thing you can possibly do. When you are engaged in the work you were born to do, you come alive, you are energized, you are creative, and you radiate a powerful, positive energy that uplifts everyone you come into contact with. You stop being a drain on the world's energy and become a source of it. Your unique gift, fully expressed, is your greatest offering to humanity. A world filled with people who are living their purpose is a world that is vibrant, innovative, and healed. We have come full circle. We began by accepting that life has no imposed meaning, only to discover that it is rich with the potential for created purpose. This purpose is not something you find outside of yourself. It is the treasure that has been buried in your own heart all along. Your personal legend is your unique path to self-realization, your blueprint for a life of joy and fulfillment. To embark on this quest is your greatest adventure and your most sacred responsibility. And when you finally give yourself permission to follow this path, when you align your daily life with the calling of your soul, you enter an entirely new state of being. The struggle falls away. Effort is replaced by elegance. You enter a state of peak performance and deep spiritual connection, a state known to athletes, artists, and mystics as flow. We have now arrived at the beautiful, soul-stirring quest for our personal legend. We have understood that our life's purpose is not a destination to be reached, but a path to be walked. A path paved with our own authentic joy and excitement. When you finally give yourself permission to walk this path, when you align your daily life with the deepest calling of your heart, you begin to experience a state of consciousness that is one of the most pleasurable, productive, and meaningful experiences a human being can have. It is a state where all the struggle, all the resistance, and all the self-doubt of the ego simply melts away. This state is known to athletes as being in the zone, to musicians as being in the pocket, and to mystics as a state of deep union. The pioneering psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi gave it a simple, elegant name: flow. Think of a time in your life when you were so completely absorbed in what you were doing that everything else disappeared. Perhaps you were painting, writing, coding, gardening, playing a sport, or deep in a heartfelt conversation. The hours may have passed in what felt like mere minutes. The constant, nagging voice of your inner critic went completely silent. There was no thought of the past, no anxiety about the future. There was only the pure, exhilarating, and deeply satisfying joy of the present moment. You were not trying to do the activity. You were the activity. This is the state of flow. And according to Csikszentmihalyi, who dedicated his life to studying the happiest and most effective people on earth, it is the secret to a life well lived. In his masterful audiobook, Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience, Csikszentmihalyi outlines the anatomy of this optimal state of being. Flow has several distinct characteristics. The first is a complete and effortless concentration on the task at hand. Your focus becomes so single-pointed that all the usual distractions of life simply fade into irrelevance. This is supported by having clear goals and receiving immediate feedback. A rock climber knows, moment by moment, whether their handhold is secure. A chess player knows immediately if their move improved their position. This clear feedback loop keeps the mind anchored in the present. Within this state, our perception of time becomes profoundly distorted. For a surgeon in the middle of a complex operation, in 6 hours can feel like 30 minutes. For a basketball player in the final seconds of a game, that 1 second can seem to stretch out, giving them all the time in the world to make the perfect shot. The experience is also what is called autotelic, a word that simply means the activity is its own reward. You are not doing it for some future prize, for fame, or for money. You are doing it for the sheer, intrinsic joy of the act itself. The doing is the reward. Perhaps the two most profound characteristics of flow are the merging of action and awareness, and the corresponding loss of self-consciousness. The separation between you and what you are doing dissolves. The musician becomes one with the music. The writer feels as though the story is flowing through them, not from them. The dancer and the dance are inseparable. And in this merging, the ego, that self-conscious, judging, insecure part of our mind goes silent. You lose yourself. You forget your name. your problems, your ambitions, and in this temporary death of the small, egoic self, you find your true, powerful, creative self. This is where flow transcends psychology and becomes a profound spiritual experience. The silencing of the ego is precisely the state of no mind that mystics have sought for centuries. When you are in flow, you are no longer operating from your limited, personal storehouse of knowledge and skill. You have tapped into something greater. You have opened a channel to the universal mind, to the soul of the world. The brilliant ideas, the perfect moves, the elegant solutions, they don't feel like they come from you, but through you. You have become a conduit for a higher intelligence and a greater creativity. You have become a true co-creator with the universe. So how do we cultivate more of this magical state in our lives? While flow can certainly happen spontaneously, we can intentionally create the conditions that make it much more likely to occur. The most important condition is what Csikszentmihalyi calls the challenge skill balance. Imagine a channel. On one side of the channel is the state of anxiety. This is what you feel when the challenge of a task is too far above your current skill level. On the other side of the channel is the state of boredom. This is what you feel when your skill level far exceeds the challenge of the task. The state of flow exists in the dynamic channel right between the two. The activity must be challenging enough to fully engage your attention, but not so difficult that it becomes overwhelming. It must be on the razor's edge of your current ability. To live a life of flow, you must constantly be seeking this sweet spot. This means that as your skills in a particular area improve, you must consciously increase the level of challenge to avoid boredom and stay in the flow channel. If you are a pianist, you must attempt more complex pieces. If you are a runner, you must try to beat your previous time or run on more difficult terrain. Creating the conditions for flow also requires creating a sacred, distraction-free space. You cannot achieve the single-pointed focus required for flow if your phone is buzzing every 2 minutes and you have 10 different tabs open on your computer. You must consciously choose to eliminate distractions and give your full, undivided attention to the task at hand. And here we find the beautiful link between flow and your personal legend. The activities that most naturally and reliably put you into a state of flow are the most powerful signposts pointing directly to your life's purpose. The universe wants you to feel good. It wants you to be in this optimal state of joyful, creative expression. The reason certain activities feel so good and put you in a state of flow is because they are in perfect alignment with the core vibrational essence of your soul. Your purpose is not meant to be a struggle or a chore. Your true purpose is the path that contains the most flow, designing your life. Therefore, becomes an art of identifying your flow triggers and consciously weaving more of them into the fabric of your days. To live in flow is to experience life as an effortless dance. It is the feeling of being carried by the current of the universe, rather than fighting against it. It is the peak experience of a life lived in alignment, where what you love to do, what you are good at, and what the world needs from you all merge into one. In this state, we lose our small, anxious, egoic self. And in doing so, we find our true, expansive, and infinitely creative self. This feeling of deep engagement, of being so joyfully immersed in the rightness of the present moment that you forget yourself, is a profound source of happiness. It has a very close spiritual cousin, another high-frequency state that, instead of focusing on a specific activity, focuses on a general attitude. It is the practice of deeply appreciating what already is, and it is the ultimate key to unlocking even more well-being and abundance. This is the transformative magic of gratitude. We have journeyed to the heart of what it means to live a purpose-driven life, to find our personal legend, and to experience the sublime state of flow that comes from walking our authentic path. In this state of alignment, we become a clear channel for creativity, joy, and inspiration. Now, we are going to explore the single most powerful practice for maintaining that high-frequency state. A practice so simple, it is often overlooked. yet so profound that it can be considered the master key to a beautiful life. It is the ultimate amplifier, the supreme catalyst for miracles, and the most direct path back to love. It is the transformative magic of gratitude. When we speak of gratitude, we are not talking about the polite, mechanical thank you that we utter without thought. We are talking about a deep, resonant, a full-body experience. True gratitude is a state of consciousness. It is the deliberate act of turning your attention away from what you think is missing in your life and focusing with your whole heart on the blessings that are already present. It is the feeling of warmth that spreads through your chest when you appreciate the beauty of a sunset. It is the feeling of profound fullness you get when you savor a delicious meal. It is the wave of love you feel when you look at a sleeping child or hear the laughter of a dear friend. Gratitude is the conscious choice to recognize the grace that is already poured out all around you, in every single moment. This simple shift in perspective holds an immense metaphysical power. The law of vibration states that what we focus on, we amplify. The energy we send out is the reality we attract, and there is a fascinating secret hidden within the very word we use for thankfulness: appreciate. In the world of finance, when an asset appreciates, it grows in value. This is not a linguistic coincidence, it is a description of a universal law. What you appreciate appreciates. What you give the energy of your gratitude to grows in your life. When you feel genuine gratitude for the money you have, no matter how small the amount, you are sending out a powerful vibration of abundance and sufficiency. You are telling the universe, I have enough, I am prosperous. And the universe, as a perfect mirror to your vibration, must, by law, send you more circumstances, opportunities, and resources to feel prosperous about. When you feel genuine gratitude for the love and friendship in your life, you amplify that loving energy, making you a magnet for more harmonious and beautiful relationships. When you feel gratitude for your physical body, for the miracle of your lungs breathing and your heart beating without any conscious effort from you, you are flooding your cells with a high-frequency energy of well-being, creating the conditions for vibrant health. Gratitude is the ultimate multiplier. It is the fertile soil in which all good things grow. Beyond its magnetic power, gratitude is also the most powerful antidote to the low-frequency states of fear and scarcity. It is vibrationally impossible to feel genuine, heartfelt gratitude and crippling fear in the same moment. The two feelings cannot coexist. They are on opposite ends of the emotional scale. Therefore, when you find yourself spiraling into worry, anxiety about the future, or resentment about the past, the fastest and most effective way to shift your state is to find something, anything to be grateful for. The simple act of focusing on your breath and feeling gratitude for the air that is keeping you alive can instantly break the spell of a negative thought loop. This makes gratitude not just a pleasant, passive feeling, but a powerful, practical tool for consciously managing your own energy and deliberately creating your reality, moment by moment. To help cultivate this practice, we can turn to Rhonda Byrne's second great work, the audiobook titled The Magic. If the Secret Explained the Law, The Magic provides a 28-day, intensive training program to make gratitude a deep and unshakable habit. It is a practical guide to rewiring your brain and your entire being to operate from a baseline of appreciation. The foundational practice, which she introduces on day 1, is to count your blessings. The instruction is simple: every morning, before you do anything else, I'll make a written list of 10 things in your life that you are grateful for. The key is to not just list them, but to write down why you are grateful for each one. For example, instead of just writing my home, you would write, I am so truly grateful for my home, because it keeps me safe and warm. And it is a peaceful sanctuary where I can be myself. After you have made your list, you are to read it back. And after each item, say the magic words: thank you, thank you, thank you, and feel the gratitude as deeply as you possibly can. This simple 10-minute exercise starts your day on the highest possible frequency. Another beautiful practice from the book is the magic rock. You are instructed to find a small, smooth stone, something that feels good in your hand. Each night, as you get into bed, you hold the magic rock and think back through all the events of your day. Your task is to find the single best thing that happened to you that day. It could be a major accomplishment or something as simple as a beautiful smile from a stranger. As you hold the best moment of the day in your mind, you flood your heart with gratitude for it, and you say thank you. This practice does two things. It ensures that the last thought you have before sleeping is a positive and grateful one, and it trains your mind to actively look for the good things that happen each day. The program then guides you to focus this powerful lens of gratitude on specific areas of your life, like your health, your career, and your relationships, especially the challenging ones. It teaches you to look at a difficult person in your life and find things to be grateful for about them, an act which can miraculously heal and transform the dynamic between you. Another powerful technique for rapidly raising your vibration comes from the teachings of Abraham Hicks. They call it a rampage of appreciation. This is an active, verbal, and joyful process. You simply start with one thing you appreciate, and then you build momentum, moving from one thought of appreciation to the next, talking faster and faster as you go. You might start with the cup of coffee in your hand. I just love this cup of coffee. It's so warm and delicious, and I love this quiet moment to myself in the morning. I am so grateful for this comfortable chair I'm sitting in. And oh, I can hear the birds singing outside my window. I love that sound. I'm so grateful for my hearing. I'm so grateful for this beautiful day that is just beginning, full of possibility. As you go on this rampage, you can feel your energy lifting, your mood soaring. You are literally tuning your vibrational instrument to the frequency of joy. Gratitude is the master key that unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough, and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, and confusion into clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, and a stranger into a friend. It shifts your entire perspective from a state of seeking to a state of already having. It is the language of your soul, speaking its thanks to the soul of the world. It is the frequency of miracles. Cultivating this profound state of gratitude places us in a beautiful, high vibrational state. It makes us resilient, optimistic, and magnetic to all good things. But we live in a world of duality, a world of contrast. Life will inevitably present us with challenges, setbacks, and circumstances that are difficult to feel grateful for in the moment. How do we maintain our inner peace and our spiritual strength when faced with an obstacle we cannot immediately change? For this, we must now turn to the ancient and powerful wisdom of the Stoics, the undisputed masters of unbreakable inner resilience. We have learned to cultivate a state of profound gratitude, to tune our being to the frequency of appreciation, which makes us a magnet for all good things. This practice builds a beautiful foundation for a joyful and abundant life. But we are not living in a frictionless utopia. We are living in the real world, a world of contrast, of duality, where storms will inevitably arise. The stock market will crash. We will receive a frightening diagnosis. People we love will betray us or leave us. In these moments, when it is nearly impossible to feel grateful for our immediate circumstances, how do we maintain our inner peace? When the law of attraction doesn't deliver our desires on our preferred timeline, how do we avoid falling into despair and bitterness? For this, we must turn to a different kind of wisdom, not one focused on attracting the good, but one focused on gracefully enduring the bad. We turn to the ancient, iron-willed masters of inner resilience, the Stoics. Stoicism is not a dry, academic philosophy. It is a practical, psychological operating system for thriving in high-stress environments. It was forged, not in quiet libraries, but on the battlefields, in the political arenas, and on the lonely frontiers of the Roman Empire. Its greatest practitioners were not cloistered academics, but men of the world, Epictetus, who began life as a slave and rose to become an influential teacher. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, who lived under the constant threat of a tyrannical emperor. And Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, the most powerful man on earth, who spent much of his reign at war, dealing with plagues, betrayals, and the immense burden of command. This philosophy is battle-tested. It is designed for adversity. The entire foundation of Stoicism rests on a single, profoundly simple, and life-altering principle known as the dichotomy of control. It is the understanding that everything in the universe can be divided into two categories: those things that are within our control, and those things that are not. The things outside of our control include virtually everything external to us: the weather, the economy, what other people think of us, their actions, our reputation, our health to a large degree, and ultimately, our own death. To the Stoic, spending even 1 ounce of energy worrying about, complaining about, or trying to change these things is the very definition of insanity. It is a recipe for perpetual frustration and misery. The second category contains the only things that are truly within our control: our thoughts, our judgments, our beliefs, or décisions, and our actions. In short, our inner world. The entire life's work of a practicing Stoic is to focus 100% of their energy on this inner domain to keep their own mind clear, rational, and virtuous, and to accept everything in the external domain with a sense of calm, untroubled grace. This is the source of their seemingly superhuman tranquility. They have built an unshakable inner citadel that no external event, no matter how catastrophic, can ever breach. From this foundation, the Stoics performed a kind of mental alchemy. They did not just tolerate obstacles, they learned to use them as fuel. This is the powerful idea articulated so brilliantly in Ryan Holiday's modern Stoic classic. The obstacle is the way. The Stoic believes that every single obstacle, every misfortune, every difficulty that life throws in our path is a custom-designed opportunity to practice a virtue. The obstacle does not block the path. The obstacle is the path. If you are dealing with a rude and difficult person, it is not an annoyance. It is a perfect opportunity to practice patience, forgiveness, and self-control. If you suffer a major financial loss, it is not a disaster. It is a chance to practice humility, resilience, and the virtue of non-attachment to material things. If you are betrayed by a friend, it is a painful but powerful lesson in setting better boundaries and becoming more self-reliant. The act of overcoming the obstacle is what forges your character. You use the challenge to become stronger, wiser, and more virtuous. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The highest, most advanced, and most challenging practice in the Stoic toolkit is what is known as amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning a love of fate. This goes far beyond mere acceptance. It is the conscious, disciplined practice of not just tolerating, but genuinely loving everything that happens in your life, as if you had chosen it yourself. It is the desire that nothing be different, not the past, not the present, not the future. It is embracing the difficult parts of your story just as much as the joyful ones, understanding that they were all necessary to make you who you are today. The great philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by the Stoics, called this his formula for human greatness. If you can learn to truly love whatever fate brings, how can you ever be unhappy? You become psychologically invincible. To see this philosophy in action, we need only listen to the intimate thoughts of the man who lived it at the highest level. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius, His personal journal, published as Meditations, is one of the most powerful audiobooks you will ever experience. It is the sound of a great and noble mind wrestling with the daily challenges of power, duty, and mortality. He was not writing for an audience, he was writing for himself. As a form of spiritual exercise, in its pages, we hear him preparing for his day, reminding himself in the morning that he will encounter meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, and dishonest people. But instead of being angered by this, he reminds himself that it is in their nature to be this way, and his job is to not let their nature corrupt his own. We hear him practicing a form of negative visualization, contemplating the loss of his loved ones and his own impending death. Not to be morbid, but to appreciate them more fully in the present and to rob them of their power to shock him when they inevitably arrive. He constantly reframes his challenges, seeing them as opportunities to be a good man, to act with justice, kindness, and reason, which are the only things that truly matter. Stoicism is the perfect complement to the law of attraction and the other principles we have explored. The law of attraction is a powerful tool for influencing our outer world, for calling in our desires and creating a beautiful life. Stoicism is the tool that ensures our inner world remains peaceful, strong, and virtuous, regardless of what the outer world looks like. It is the psychological armor that protects our high vibrational state. It gives us the strength to maintain our faith when our manifestations are delayed. It gives us the resilience to see a failure not as an end, but as a lesson and a stepping stone. It provides the unshakable foundation upon which a truly empowered and joyful life can be built. This stoic resilience provides us with a shield, an inner fortress of peace that allows us to navigate the storms of life with grace and strength. It quiets the reactive, emotional mind that is prone to panic and despair. And in this newfound inner silence, in this space that has been cleared of frantic worry and emotional turmoil, another, more subtle voice can finally be heard. It is a whisper from a place deeper than logic, a quiet guidance system that transcends rational thought. It is the voice of our deepest knowing. It is the voice of intuition. We have built an inner fortress of stoic resilience, a psychological citadel that allows us to remain calm and strong, even when the storms of life rage around us. This practice quiets the loud, reactive, emotional mind that is prone to panic and fear, and in the profound inner silence that this strength creates, in the space between our thoughts, a different kind of intelligence can finally make itself heard. It is not the voice of logic, which calculates and analyzes. It is not the voice of emotion, which passionately reacts. It is a quieter, more subtle voice. It is the whisper of your deepest knowing, a guidance system that transcends reason and connects you to a wisdom far greater than your own. This is the voice of your intuition. We all have two primary advisors that we consult when making decisions. The first is the head, the voice of logic and reason. It gathers data, weighs pros and cons, and constructs rational arguments based on past evidence. It is the faithful servant, the useful tool for navigating a complex world. The second advisor is the heart, the voice of emotion. It tells us what we desire, what we fear, what brings us joy, and what causes us pain. But there is a third, often neglected, advisor. We can call it the gut feeling, the hunch, the inkling, the quiet knowing that seems to come from nowhere. This is intuition, and in a noisy world that glorifies data and drama, its subtle whisper is often drowned out. To learn to use this powerful inner GPS, we must first learn to distinguish its voice from its imposters. Intuition is not the same as fear. Fear is loud, frantic, and contracting. It often comes with a chaotic story of what if and a physical sensation of anxiety, a racing heart, a knot in the stomach. Fear screams, "No, run, this is dangerous." Intuition, on the other hand, is almost always calm, quiet, and neutral. Its no feels less like a panic alarm and more like a simple, solid wall. A quiet sense of this is not the way. Intuition is also not the same as wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is the ego, wanting something to be true and trying to talk itself into it. It is emotionally charged with neediness and desire. Intuition is dispassionate. It does not try to convince you, it simply presents itself as a quiet truth, whether you like that truth or not. So, what is the source of this mysterious guidance? From a scientific perspective, our subconscious mind processes billions of bits of information per second. While our conscious mind can only handle a handful, your intuition can be seen as the holistic conclusion of all this massive, unconscious data processing, delivered to your conscious awareness in a single, compressed flash of insight. It's your brain's ability to recognize subtle patterns that your conscious mind has completely missed. From a spiritual perspective, intuition is your direct line to the universal mind, to the soul of the world. It is the part of your consciousness that is not separate from the whole, while your logical mind is using the old, stored map of your past experiences. Your intuition has access to the live, real-time, satellite view of the entire cosmic terrain. It knows where the traffic jams are, where the unexpected shortcuts lie, and what the ultimate destination looks like. History is filled with stories of great geniuses who credited this intuitive faculty as the source of their most important breakthroughs. Albert Einstein famously said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford commencement address, urged the graduates, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become." He considered intuition to be more powerful than intellect. In his fascinating audiobook, Blink: The Power of Thinking Without Thinking, author Malcolm Gladwell explores the science behind these rapid, intuitive judgments. He tells the story of art experts who, upon first seeing a statue that had been authenticated by months of rigorous scientific testing, knew instantly and instinctively that it was a fake. Their subconscious minds picked up on subtle inconsistencies that the scientific instruments had missed. He recounts the story of a fire commander who, in the middle of fighting a routine kitchen fire, was suddenly overcome with an inexplicable urge to pull his entire team out of the house. Moments after they evacuated, the floor collapsed into a raging inferno in the basement that they never knew was there. His intuition, processing thousands of subtle cues, the type of heat, the sound of the fire, saved their lives. This is the power of thin slicing. The ability of our unconscious mind to find patterns in situations and behavior based on very narrow slices of experience. This powerful guidance system is not reserved for geniuses and heroes. It is your birthright. The crucial work is to learn how to quiet the outside world and the noisy inner chatter so you can hear its subtle voice. The first and most essential practice is to cultivate silence. You cannot hear a whisper in a rock concert. You must create intentional pockets of silence in your life. This could be a daily meditation practice, a quiet walk in nature without your headphones, or even just the simple act of turning off the car radio and driving in silence. You must create the quiet space for the whisper to emerge. The second practice is to learn to listen to the wisdom of your body. Your intuition often communicates through physical sensations. Start to notice how your body feels when you are faced with a decision. A feeling of lightness, expansion, and openness in your chest and solar plexus is often a powerful yes. A feeling of contraction, heaviness, a sick feeling, or a knot in your stomach is often a very clear no. Your body is an incredibly sensitive instrument. Learn to trust the feelings it is giving you. Third, you can actively ask your intuition for guidance. Before you go to sleep, or as you begin a meditation, you can pose a clear question. What is the next step I should take regarding my career? Or is this relationship for my highest good? Then, You must completely let go of the need for an immediate answer. Don't strain or search for it. The answer will often bubble up when you least expect it, in the shower, on a drive, or as a dream. Finally, you must build a relationship of trust with your intuition. And you do this by starting small. Don't ask it to make a life or death decision on day one. Use it for small, low-stakes choices. Which of these 3 books should I read next? Should I turn left or right on my walk today? Should I reach out to that person I just thought of? Follow the small, gentle nudge. When you see that it often leads to a positive, interesting, or serendipitous outcome, you build a track record. You learn the specific flavor of your own intuitive voice. This builds the confidence you need to trust its guidance when the stakes are much higher. Your intuition is your most loyal and trustworthy advisor. It is your soul's compass, constantly calibrated to your own true north. It is the voice of the universe speaking directly to you and through you. Learning to hear, trust, and act on its guidance is the ultimate act of self-trust. It is the decision to navigate your life not by the dim and flickering lamp of your past experiences, but by the bright and steady star of your own inner wisdom. As we learn to trust this deep inner guidance, we begin to build a profound and unshakable trust in ourselves. This self-trust naturally blossoms into a wider trust in the universe itself. We start to see that the intelligence guiding us from within is the same intelligence that animates the stars and grows the trees. The separation between me and the universe begins to dissolve, leading us to one of the most liberating and ecstatic realizations in all of human consciousness. We have traveled on a vast journey through the inner worlds. We have faced the void and found our freedom. We have quieted the mind and found the power of the present moment. We have learned to reprogram our subconscious, to follow our intuition, and to build an unbreakable inner citadel of resilience. Now, we stand at the threshold of the final, most expansive realization of all. We are about to take the ultimate step, to zoom out so far that the very foundation of our identity, the feeling of being a separate me living inside a body, begins to dissolve like a phantom in the morning light. We have learned that we are powerful creators in the universe. We are now ready to explore the possibility that we are the universe itself. To guide us through this mind-bending and liberating landscape, we turn to the brilliant philosopher and spiritual entertainer, Alan Watts. With his characteristic wit, wisdom, and playful laughter, Watts was a master at translating the profound insights of Eastern philosophies like Zen Buddhism and Taoism for the Western mind. His many audiobooks, perhaps most notably The Wisdom of Insecurity, are not dry lectures, but joyful, charismatic invitations to wake up from the trance of everyday existence. Listening to Watts is to feel your mind being playfully and lovingly stretched into a new and wonderful shape. His most fundamental teaching is a direct challenge to our most cherished assumption, the idea that you are a separate, isolated ego, a lonely consciousness trapped inside a bag of skin, who arrived in this world as a stranger and will one day depart from it. Watts argues that this feeling of being an isolated self is a hallucination. It is a social convention, a useful fiction we agree upon to play the game of society, but it has no basis in reality. The real you is something infinitely vaster, older, and more magnificent. To explain this, he uses a simple, beautiful analogy: the wave and the ocean. Imagine you are looking out at the sea. You see thousands of individual waves. A wave is born. It rises to a crest. It travels for a moment, and then it crashes on the shore and is gone. It has a beginning and an end. But is the wave ever truly separate from the ocean? Of course not. The wave is simply something the entire ocean is doing in one particular place. Its form is temporary, but its substance, the water, is the substance of the whole ocean. Watts would say that you are not a separate wave. You are the entire ocean, waving in the form of a human being for a little while. Your birth was the rising of the wave, and your death will be the wave returning to the ocean. But your fundamental substance, your true self, is, and always has been, the entire ocean of consciousness. He presents another powerful way to understand this. We have this ingrained feeling that we came into this world, as if we were delivered here from somewhere else, like a package left on a doorstep. But this is a profound misunderstanding of our own nature. Watts would say, "You don't come into this world. You come out of it. Just as a leaf comes out of a tree leaves, an apple tree apples. The earth, the entire cosmos. Peoples, you are not an alien visitor to this planet. You are a natural, organic expression of this planet. You are a feature of the universe. Just like a galaxy or a nebula, the whole universe is expressing itself. Right here, right now, as you. This leads to the astonishing conclusion that you are the universe experiencing itself. You are one of the countless nerve endings of the cosmos. The universe is looking out at itself through your eyes. It is hearing the symphony of its own creation through your ears. And it is feeling the texture of its own fabric through your skin. When you feel joy, it is the universe feeling joy. When you feel sorrow, it is the universe feeling sorrow. The entire spectrum of human experience is the universe exploring its own infinite possibilities through you. This transforms life from a personal struggle for survival into a divine, cosmic play. What Hindu philosophy calls Leela. The universe is playing a grand, cosmic game of hide and seek with itself. The ultimate, unified consciousness, the all, pretends to be all these separate beings: you, me, the stars, the trees, the animals, so that it can have the joy and adventure of discovering itself again. Your entire life, with all its ups and downs, is a scene in this divine play. This perspective also dissolves the illusion of duality. We tend to see the world as a battle between opposing forces, good and evil, pleasure and pain, life and death, self and other. Watts uses a playful analogy of prickles and goo. Some people are prickly, they value order, structure, logic, and control. Others are gooey, they value love, surrender, flow, and compassion. We see these as opposites. But Watts points out that you cannot have one without the other. Prickles are just spikes, they have no meaning unless there is a soft, gooey background for them to be contrasted against. Goo is just a formless mess without some prickly structure to contain it. In the same way, you cannot know light without darkness, sound without silence, or pleasure without pain. They are not two separate things, they are the two inseparable poles of a single, unified reality. They are two sides of the same cosmic coin. To embrace this is to stop fighting reality. It is to see that the whole dance of life, with all its prickles and all its goo, is one magnificent, unified process. So, if we are all just the universe playing a game with itself, what is the point? What is the meaning of it all? Watts would answer with a question. What is the point of music? The point of a song is not to get to the final note as quickly as possible. If it were, the best composers would write songs with only one note. The point of the music is the music itself, the experience of the melody and rhythm unfolding in time. What is the point of dancing? The purpose is not to arrive at a particular spot on the floor. The purpose is the dance itself. In the same way, the ultimate meaning of life is not to achieve some final goal, to accumulate the most toys, or to arrive at some heavenly destination after it's all over. The meaning of life is to be alive. The point is to wake up to the fact that you are the universe playing the role of you, and to play that role with as much awareness, gusto, and joy as you can muster. Your purpose is to be the most engaged and conscious witness to this cosmic spectacle that you can possibly be. This is the ultimate freedom. You are not a fragile ego fighting for your survival in a cold and indifferent world. You are the entire, eternal, indestructible universe, dreaming that it is you for a little while. just for the sheer wonder and adventure of it. This realization dissolves the root of all fear, especially the fear of death. Because if you are the whole ocean, how can you be afraid of one of your own waves returning to you? It replaces our existential anxiety with a sense of playful, cosmic wonder. We have journeyed from the existential void to the heart of the cosmos. We have realized that the wall between our inner self and the outer universe is an illusion. This is the peak of the philosophical mountain, the grandest view imaginable. But we cannot live on the peak forever. The final question remains: how do we bring this cosmic consciousness down into our daily lives? How do we integrate all these profound lessons from Stoic resilience to the power of our subconscious, from the law of attraction to the love of our fate, into a practical, beautiful, and coherent way of being? This is the final step in our journey together to synthesize it all into the art of living. We have come to the end of a long and winding road, a journey that has taken us from the cold, silent abyss of existential dread to the ecstatic, blazing heart of cosmic consciousness. And so we arrive, not at a final destination, but at the true starting point. We arrive at this present moment, at the beginning of the rest of your life, armed with a new understanding, a new set of tools, and a new vision of who you truly are and what you are capable of. It is time to synthesize all that we have learned, not as a final lesson, but as the ingredients for the great and sacred art of living. Let us retrace our steps for a moment, to see the path that has led us here. We began in the darkness, having the courage to face the most terrifying human question. With Albert Camus as our guide, we stared into the indifferent face of an absurd universe and refused to blink. We stood with Friedrich Nietzsche amidst the rubble of old certainties, heard his cry that God is dead, and understood that we were now free and responsible for the creation of our own values. We faced the void, and instead of a terrifying emptiness, we found a blank canvas. But a blank canvas is not enough. We needed to find the power to paint. We turned inward with Eckhart Tolle. We learned to escape the mental prison of past and future, finding our true home and our true power in the sanctuary of the now. From the depths of the concentration camps, Viktor Frankl taught us the last of the human freedoms, that no matter our circumstances, we always have the power to choose our attitude, to create meaning even in the midst of suffering. With our inner freedom secured, we then became students of creation itself. We delved into the secret wisdom of the ages and learned that the universe is mental, a great cosmic mind that responds to our own. We discovered the law of vibration, understanding that our emotions are the key to tuning our frequency, and that like attracts like. We learned the art of asking for our desires with clarity, the paradoxical power of surrendering the outcome with faith, and the joyful ease of taking inspired action. We learned to read the winks and whispers of the universe in the language of synchronicity. From there, our journey took us deeper into the self. We confronted our limiting beliefs about money, transforming it from a source of stress into a current of energy. With Dr. Joe Dispenza, we became neuroscientists of our own souls, learning to break the habit of being our old selves and to literally rewire our brains and bodies for a new future. We looked into the mirror of our relationships and saw that every person in our life is a teacher, reflecting back to us the parts of ourselves that need healing and love. We learned from the ancient Stoics how to build an unbreakable inner citadel, how to transform every obstacle into an opportunity, and how to love our fate. We learned to quiet the noise and listen to the subtle, wise voice of our own intuition. And finally, with Alan Watts, we took the ultimate leap, dissolving the illusion of the separate self and realizing our true nature as the universe itself, playing the magnificent game of being us. And so we stand here now, holding all these truths: the existential freedom of Camus, the creative will of Nietzsche, the presence of Tolle, the resilience of the Stoics, the mechanics of the law of attraction, and the cosmic consciousness of Watts. What do we do with all this? We live, we create, We become the artist of our life. This is the final, grand synthesis. The discovery that life has no inherent meaning is not a depressing conclusion. It is the ultimate artistic commission. The universe has not given you a script to follow. It has given you a blank canvas and a limitless palette of colors. Your subconscious beliefs, your memories, your experiences, these are the colors on your palette. Your thoughts and your intentions are your brushes. Your emotions, your joy, your passion, your love are the force and the texture you apply to each stroke. Your personal legend is the grand theme of your masterpiece. The synchronicities are the gentle light guiding your hand. The state of flow is the feeling of the brush moving effortlessly, as if guided by a power beyond your own. Do not be afraid to paint. Do not be afraid to make a mess. To mix colors in ways no one has ever tried. To paint over old lines that no longer serve you. To splash the canvas with bold, vibrant, and even shocking hues. There is no right or wrong way to create your art. There is only your way. And you must understand that the meaning is not found in the finished painting hanging on a gallery wall. The meaning is not in the final destination. The achievement of the goal. The acquisition of the treasure. The meaning of your life is found in the act of painting. It is found in the joy of squeezing the paint onto the palette, in the focus of the brushstroke, in the courage to face the blank canvas every single morning. The meaning of your life is a verb, not a noun. It is the process, the dance, the song of creation itself. Let us use one final parable, your own life. See it as a film. Up until this moment, you may have been under the impression that you were just a minor character in a story written by someone else. You may have thought your parents, your culture, your circumstances were the directors, telling you where to stand and what lines to say. But now you know the truth. You are the author of the screenplay. You are the director, sitting in the chair, choosing the camera angles, the lighting, and the musical score. And you are the lead actor, delivering the performance of a lifetime. The spotlight is on you. You have absolute and total power to decide the genre of your film. Will you continue to write it as a tragedy of missed opportunities and what might have been? Will you direct it as a drama of endless struggle and complaint? Or will you, right now, in this moment, decide to tear up that old script and begin anew? Will you choose to make your life a thrilling adventure, full of risk and discovery, a profound romance with existence itself, a comedy, full of laughter at your own beautiful imperfections, a triumphant, heroic journey of overcoming obstacles and realizing your own power? The choice is entirely yours. The exploration is over. The real work, the joyous, creative, magnificent work of living your art begins now. The canvas is before you. The brushes are in your hand. The universe is holding its breath, waiting with loving anticipation to see what you will create. Go and live your masterpiece. We began this journey together in the quiet darkness, with the weight of a single, terrifying question. What is the point of it all? We stared into the vast, silent cosmos and confronted the profound possibility of our own meaninglessness. We walked through the valley of the absurd. We stood amidst the ruins of old certainties, and we dared to face the void. And look where we have come. We have traveled from that cold, empty space to the fiery heart of creation. We learned that the void was not an ending, but a canvas. We discovered that our own consciousness is the most powerful force in the universe, and that our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are the brushes with which we paint our reality. We journeyed inward, escaping the prison of the mind to find the eternal sanctuary of the now. We found the courage to reprogram our deepest limitations, to heal our relationships, and to build an inner fortress of unshakable resilience. We learned to listen to the whispers of our intuition, to follow the thread of our own joy, and to dance with the synchronicities of a universe that is always conspiring in our favor. And finally, we zoomed out to glimpse the most magnificent truth of all, that we are not fragile beings struggling through life, but the entire universe itself, experiencing the grand and beautiful dream of being us. So we return to the question that started it all. But we ask it now with new eyes. What is the meaning of life? The answer is as liberating as it is profound. It has no meaning. And that is the single greatest gift you have ever been given. The absence of a pre-written, universal purpose is not a curse. It is the ultimate declaration of your freedom. It is the universe handing you the pen and saying, with infinite love and trust, write your own story, compose your own symphony, paint your own masterpiece. Peace is not a destination you will one day arrive at. It is a state of being you can generate from within. Right now, by choosing your attitude and surrendering to what is. Happiness is not a prize you are given for a life well lived. It is the feeling of a life being well lived. Moment by creative moment. In alignment with your own soul. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the author of your story. You are not a product of your past. You are the creator of your future. This audiobook is now ending, but your true life is just beginning. You hold all the tools you will ever need. You have the power to choose your thoughts, to tune your vibration, to follow your joy, and to create a life that is a unique and beautiful expression of who you truly are. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for a sign. Your own excitement is the sign. Your own joy is the permission. The canvas of this present moment is before you. The full palette of your infinite potential is within you. The only question left is the one that only you can answer. What will you create?